Douluo, I'm really not strong. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 151, 100,000 Years Old Beast. Auction. On the streets of Xian City, a carriage with sparkling gems passed by quietly. Its luxurious decoration made people want to avoid it, for fear of being hit and broken. In the carriage, an elegant man held a girl in his arms, and beside he sat a quiet old man with white hair. Xian City seems to be particularly lively today. The carriage was well soundproofed. Hearing the faint noises around him, Ning Fengzi raised the corners of his mouth slightly and smiled. Maybe something happened, sort. Douluo Chengxin had a calm expression on his face, as if he was not interested in anything, and replied calmly. Hearing this, Ning Fengzi couldn't help but nodded, and did not stop the carriage. He planned to ask again, when he arrived at the prince's mansion later. 100,000 years old beast. As soon as they stepped off the carriage, 5 big characters immediately rang in the ears of Ning Fengzi and Ning Fengzi. The two looked at each other with a look of horror on their faces. Father, I want to go down. Seeing that they had reached their destination, Ning Rangrang immediately started struggling, and the sound also woke them up. He released Ning Rangrang and allowed her to approach the house alone. The guarding servants knew the identity of the visitor and did not dare to stop her at all. Tell me, what do you two mean by the 100,000 years old beast just now? The two walked towards the two servants. Although Ning Fengzi's tone was calm, the cold majesty on his body made people tremble in their hearts, and they did not dare to resist at all. Back. To you two adults, there are rumors in Xian City that 100,000 years old beast will be auctioned. The two of us are just following their words and playing tricks. Seeing Ning Fengzi and saw Douluo, the servant's teeth were trembling, and he quickly told what he knew, not daring to hide anything. 100,000 years old beast auction? Hearing this, Ning Fengzi and saw Douluo's expressions changed, and they felt that they were walking incomprehensibly. If there really is 100,000 years old beast, who would be so stupid as to put it up for auction? How many title Douluo don't have a 100,000 years old ring? If a 100,000 year old soul beast really appeared, even the title Douluo would have to fight for his scalp and bleed point for such news. Ning Fengzi had already decided in his heart that it was a rumor after all. 100,000 years old beast is a priceless treasure. Who can sell it, and who can afford so much money to buy it? Besides, even if you have 100,000 soul beasts, aren't you afraid that major forces will come and snatch them away? After waving his hand, Ning Fengzi ignored the matter and walked directly into the house. Backyard. Suzanne and Xian Ringsu are playing chess. Xian Ringsu also likes the novel chess, but I just made the wrong move. I have to take a step back. I said, you regretted your chess this time. How can you play this chess again? I don't care. I just learned it anyway. You have to let me. Xian Ringsu puffed up her face and took back the eaten car with righteous words. Suzanne, it's been raining for 2 days. Are you telling me that you just learned it? This is the last time. You don't regret playing chess. You have the demeanor of a chess player after all. After another act of magnanimity, Suzanne gave Xian Ringsu a shot of vaccination, which made her feel a little out of breath. Sticking out her tongue, Xian Ringsu didn't care. She looked at the chess situation in front of her, bit her pink lips, and couldn't help but start to think deeply. Tap Sister Zook, I'm here to play with you. Suddenly, a burst of hurried footsteps suddenly broke the calm atmosphere, and at the same time, woke up Zuke, who was sleeping next to him. Wiping the saliva from the corner of his mouth nonchalantly, Zook raised his pouty face, slowly opened his sleepy eyes. Rangrang. Seeing the person coming, Zuke's hazy eyes suddenly brightened up, and she ran over quickly. In an instant, the two girls hugged each other, like sisters reunited after a long separation. Kenna, just play with Rangrang in the house. Don't go out and run around. Do you understand? Zuke was also a little bored here, and Rangrang happened to come over. How could Suzanne not let the two of them play? So he waved his hand quickly. Aha. Zuke nodded. took Ning Rangrang's arm, and flew away from here, as if she didn't want to stay here. Your Highness, Master Ning and Sword Douluo are here too. Seeing Suzanne get up, Qinghe immediately reminded him, I'll let you go this round. I'll leave first. Xian hummed, waved to Qian Ring Su, and left gracefully. There is nothing special about Ning Fengxi and Sword Douluo coming here. They are just accompanying Ning Rangrang to play point with their cultivation and status. They pursue too little point, of course. It's too heavy point. After briefly chatting for a while, Ning Fengxi thought about the 100,000-year soul beast, and couldn't help but ask, I wonder what His Highness thinks of the recent rumors about the auction of a 100,000-year soul beast in Xiandao City. View. I don't have any opinion. Suzanne was stunned for a moment, then immediately shook his head. He wholeheartedly agreed with this kind of thing. That was conducive to stimulating consumption, and he also made vigorous publicity for it. I'm a little confused. What does His Highness mean by this? Ning Fengxi asked, frowning slightly. I released this news. If you ask me what I think, you can't let me praise myself. Suzanne waved his hand nonchalantly. Praise yourself? Sorry, he is too thin-skinned to do such a thing. PFFT. As soon as he said this, Sword Douluo, who was calmly sipping tea at the side, suddenly spurted out and spilled the tea on the ground in front of him. Ignoring his own lapse, Sword Douluo looked at Suzanne with an expression full of astonishment. This news, was you the one who released it? The tone was full of weirdness and surprise, with a strong sense of disbelief, and even Ning Fengxi was immediately dumbfounded. After a slight pause, Ning Fengxi asked, what does your highness mean? Is that you have a 100,000-year soul beast? Sword Douluo and Ning Fengxi were seen looking at Suzanne with serious faces. Although they tried their best to restrain themselves, the surprise, excitement in their eyes could not be hidden, no matter what point. After all, it was a 100,000-year-old soul beast, and it was even more in the legends of the mainland. Even Sword Douluo's 9th spirit ring is only a 10,000-year spirit ring. Since I dare to speak out, I'm naturally prepared. Is it possible that I will still talk nonsense? Suzanne replied. If this is nonsense, he will not be beaten to death by a group of titled Douluo. His small body cannot bear the torture. Or perhaps stage a show of one-on-one challenge to all the titled Douluo in the continent. Your Highness, you have to think clearly about the seriousness of this matter. If you can't get the 100,000-year soul beast, the matter, Ning Fengxi's face immediately turned serious, but unfortunately, Suzanne interrupted him before he finished speaking. Of course I have a sense of discretion in this matter, teacher, don't worry. Suzanne said confidently. Chapter 152 System refreshed. Suzanne cried, Your Highness, a 100,000-year soul beast is so precious. Why do you want to auction it? Ning Fengxi couldn't figure it out. Putting aside why Suzanne had a 100,000-year soul beast, even if he had it, it wouldn't be auctioned off. The so-called auction naturally goes to the highest bidder. A 100,000-year soul beast is a priceless treasure. How can you be short of money in the royal family? With a treasure like this, wouldn't it be nice to keep it for yourself, or to win over a titled Douluo for the royal family? Ning Fengxi might never have thought that Suzanne was short of money, and very short of it. To him, the 100,000-year-old soul beast was nothing. As long as he sold it, he would be able to make money back immediately. Wealth kind that pays back 10,000 times. Alas, the teacher doesn't know something. The expenses in my house are too high. I really have no choice but to do it. Looking at Ning Fengxi, Suzanne was full of sincerity, but when these words fell into Ning Fengxi's ears, they felt panicked. MMP, the expense is too high, so why don't you just auction the 100,000-year soul beast? So, this is the least precious thing in the house, right? If His Majesty knew about this, wouldn't he kill you, this prodigal thing? Looking at Suzanne, Ning Fengxi and Sword Douluo had their fists clenched, and veins on their foreheads were pulsing. They swore that they really wanted to beat this pretender to death at this moment. Gritting his teeth, Ning Fengxi's eyes flashed with light, and his tone suddenly became gentle. If your highness needs gold coins, you might as well sell me a 100,000-year soul beast. I'm willing to pay a high price. What do you think? Seeing what Ning Fengzi said, Suzanne was startled, and a flower-like smile suddenly appeared on his face. I wonder how much money you can give, teacher? Seeing Suzanne's despicable smile, Ning Fengzi felt very uncomfortable, as if he was being targeted by a hungry wolf. But also got the key information from it. That is, Suzanne really has 100,000-year soul beast. As soon as he thought of this, a fiery color flashed in Ning Fengzi's eyes. After all, it is 100,000-year soul beast. Even if they don't need it now, they can still keep it. I wonder how many gold coins your highness is planning to sell. Ning Fengzi asked quickly. It's hard to say. It's possible that it's between 1 billion and 80 million. It depends on how much you bid, teacher. Suzanne said seriously. 1 billion and 800 million. Hearing this number, Ning Fengzi wanted to slap Suzanne to death. Although he could afford so much money, the 7 treasures glazed sect would no longer exist. Besides, 100,000-year soul beast is not worth so many gold coins at all, even though 100,000-year soul beast has a price but no market. But if there is a market, there must be a price. Based on Ning Fengzi's conservative estimate, 100 million gold coins is still reasonable, but 300 million is basically nonsense. It could be seen that Suzanne did not intend to sell it alone. After all, the news had been released. If he got there first, most of the parties would be watching him. Ning Fengzi did not continue to ask. I see that Rang Rang likes to play with Princess Zook, so I'll let her stay here for the time being. Your highness can help take care of her. Ning Fengzi originally planned to leave, but seeing that Ning Rang Rang didn't want to leave, he had no choice but to keep her. Suzanne was also happy about this, and naturally agreed. It was always good for that girl Zuke to have a companion, so as not to disturb the two of them all the time. Midnight. Why are you still awake? Seeing that Suzanne was in full swing and didn't seem to want to sleep at all, which was very different from the usual situation, Xian Ringsu couldn't help but feel a little strange. In the past, this guy was more active in sleeping than anyone else, as if he wanted to hug himself and eat him. What happened now? You go to sleep first. I will enjoy the night for a while and then go to bed later. After waving his hand, Suzanne was still lying on the soft chair, seemingly not wanting to move. Then, I'll go to bed first. Not understanding what happened, Xian Ringsu didn't pay attention. Nothing happened recently. She yawned and rolled up the quilt directly. The room suddenly became quiet. Looking at the soft and elegant curves not far away, Suzanne swallowed subconsciously. Time can't go faster, it's so slow. Seeing the start time of the system's instant kill, Suzanne was so angry that he stamped his feet, his face full of impatience. That's right, a month has passed, and the system's flash sale time has begun again. Suzanne is also looking forward to the new round of products. However, why does Tomiyawa have to be refreshed at night? Don't you know that night is the most precious time for a man? Fortunately, the waiting time is not particularly long. It has arrived in the blink of an eye. 9821 aha. In an instant, the system interface, which had dimmed, suddenly lit up again. A new round of products is born. 1000. International luxury top level apartments. 10,000 gold coins. Damn it. What a good thing. 10,000 top luxury cars. Rolls Royce. 50,000 gold coins. Now, can't I buy 10 million cars? Suddenly, the excited Suzanne was stunned and looked at the products refreshed on the system interface in disbelief. House. Car. Are they good? Of course, but I'm in Douluo continent now, not on Earth. Why are you giving me these things? System, why do these things appear? Is the system malfunctioning? I strongly recommend you to restore factory settings. Suzanne said angrily. There is no problem with the system at all. The system's flash sale products are randomly refreshed. The last issue focused on local products, and this time it is urban products. So, Xian, pull, gab, you must have become a spirit and embezzled my products. His face was a little twisted, and Suzanne gritted his teeth and said, I'm in Douluo continent now, and these can be used as hammers. Sorry, the purpose of the product comes from you, the host. Whether it is useful depends on how you use it. So, Xian, why is what you said so reasonable? I can't refute it. The Host can continue browsing and may find products that suit your needs. Watch. Next, hearing this, Suzan focused his attention on the system interface again. Mobile phone manufacturing. This is useful for wool. Can I still win a game of King in Douluo world? Or what? Aircraft carrier. I have nothing to do to go out on the sea and have fun. If I don't drive a cruise ship and drive this, it will be so cool. Exclamation mark. Irony. Artificial superpower serum. This thing, it's not just an ordinary urban product. Seeing the artificial super serum, Suzan's pupils shrank suddenly, and a great surprise suddenly poured into his heart. Woohoo, sure enough, the author's father still loves him, and hasn't abandoned him. With tears in her eyes, Suzan continued to look at it. The more she looked, the more surprised she became. The more she looked, the more unexpected she became. The more she looked, the less the number of gold coins became. Chapter 153. Unreliable system. Originally, Suzan thought they were really urban products, just ordinary products, such as toothpaste and toothbrushes. But as he went down, Suzan was suddenly shocked. It turned out that urban things refer to things that appear and belong to the city. But who can say for sure what a city will look like? Like in the Marvel world, there is the hero Spider-Man in the city. In a supernatural world, there are beautiful angels in the city. In the world of immortality, there are also hidden immortal kings in the city. The further he looked down, the gold coins in Suzan's pocket were instantly emptied, and most of the items in it were relatively cheap. Of course, this cheapness is relative. The gold coins of the Xian Empire would be worth more than 3,000 to 4,000 soft girl coins in an ordinary city. Coupled with the system's 1 to 10,000 exchange ratio, one gold coin is worth tens of millions. Even if you buy the Goose Factory according to its market value, it will only cost more than 100,000 gold coins. The market value of internet companies is far lower than their value. This is just an example. So, basically most things are cheap. Of course, there are also expensive ones, even millions of gold coins, which are more expensive than a level 10 Soul Guide system. Don't you think the price of this mobile phone is too high? Looking at the crystal doll in his hand, Suzan raised his eyebrows and asked angrily. Several million gold coins, that's tens of trillions. Which rich man in future generations can spend so much money? Didn't you see, the Bull Demon King's elixir only sold for $100 million in 2006. The system commodity prices are indeed linked to the world prices, but for some unconventional and powerful commodities, the prices will be reintegrated based on the world prices. So, the price given by the system is not wrong. If the host is unwilling to buy, the system can provide return service. Forget it. Forget about returning it. I'll just make do with it. So, Xian reluctantly accepted it. As a Buddhist shopper, he didn't have so many requirements. 50 million gold coins were gone in the blink of an eye. Looking at the large quantities of small batches of things in the system space, Suzan felt as if he had bought the whole world. Perhaps I can make Douluo world its original world. Such or thoughts suddenly flashed through his mind, and Suzan felt that it was not unacceptable. Anyway, he had nothing to pursue in the Douluo world. The strength is there, the status is there. I have a wife too. In his current state, even if God comes, he won't be able to beat him back. So, what else is he pursuing? Well, Zin's wife and children are on the hotbed system. What if the gold coins in Douluo world are gone? Moreover, if something like a chaos clock appears in the future, what should I buy? Suddenly, Suzan thought of two very serious problems, and his expression became solemn again. There are only a few 100 million gold coins in the national treasury, and I'm afraid that there are not many billions of gold coins in the entire continent. Even if we dig out all the gold coins in the ground, it won't be much. He can afford tens of millions at once. If a mythical world or a fantasy world comes to him, what will he use to sell it? Maybe the gods and emperors are too hungry to eat. Maybe they can exchange the immortal weapons and imperial weapons for gold coins to buy Rauji ammo? Irony that the first question is that the gold coins in this world are gone. This matter is not under the control of the system. It is something that the host should consider. The second question is that with the wealth this world has, the host does not need to think about things like the chaos clock. Because the host cannot afford it, it is recommended that the host can go to other planes in the future. Hearing this answer, Suzanne felt as if 1,000 grass and mud horses were galloping past. Damn it. After all, I'm also a customer, that is God. Once the 2 hands are delivered, will you turn your back on me? Co-author, you have drained my sperm. Gold. So you don't care about me anymore. System, you ask me to go to other worlds. Can you charter a car? Suzanne said angrily. I'm sorry, this is something you, the host, need to consider. This system only provides flash sale products and does not provide other services. Then let me ask, how did I travel to the Douluo world? Suzanne asked with a black face point system. The atmosphere suddenly became silent, and Suzanne's face became darker. If he empties out the Douluo world, he must go to other worlds. Moreover, you have to wait for the system to refresh the time travel props, and you have to have props that you can afford. The more I think about it, the angrier I get, and the more I think about it, the harder it is to accept it. Well, the more I think about it, the more I feel it doesn't matter. That's right. It doesn't matter. If you can't go to other worlds, then don't go. It's not like this baby won't be able to survive without going to other worlds. Douluo continent is so good, with so many beauties and beautiful scenery. Why do you set so many flags for yourself when you have nothing to do? After calming down for a moment, Suzanne felt that it would be better to treat this thing as a Buddhist. If you can go, go. It doesn't matter if you can't. Douluo continent is pretty good anyway. Well, it's definitely not that he can't eat the grapes and say the grapes are sour, but he is just satisfied. That's right. That's it. Don't accept refutation. Just as Suzanne was about to go to bed, a subtle noise suddenly caught Suzanne's attention. Seeing the formation slightly lit red light, Suzanne suddenly became happy. He happened to be short of someone to test new things, and unexpectedly someone came to his door without alerting Xian Ringsu. Suzanne quietly left the bedroom. In the study, a man in black clothes was flipping through something. The man looked tall, with long white hair hanging down his head, and a mask on his face, making it impossible to see his face clearly. Your Excellency is also a titled Douluo. Isn't it too shameless to break into my disciple's residence in the middle of the night? Just as the man was about to leave, an old voice suddenly rang in the room, and the man was startled. Under the mental scanning, no trace of the visitor could be found, and his cultivation level, the man's heart froze, and he couldn't care less. His whole body turned into a silver stream of light, which only shot towards the sky. Since you're here, why don't you stay as a guest? A joking sound rang in his ears, and saw Douluo was immediately started and looked around in horror. In the long night, a chill suddenly appeared. Shenzhen felt that his hands and feet were a little cold, and his whole body became tense. Certainly, a faint sound suddenly sounded, and saw Douluo suddenly felt that his whole body was unable to move. Looking down subconsciously, he discovered that a grey-white chain was wrapped around his body. The chain looked very mysterious, as if it had countless words flowing around it. Just when he was about to use his martial spirit to cut off the chain, he suddenly felt confused and fainted. Done. Chapter 154 Sordeo Chengxin. What a good title. Douluo. Suzanne himself would feel bad if he didn't use it to practice his skills. It just so happened that he could also test it. After dragging Sword Douluo away from Xian City, Suzanne took him to a wilderness. Snapped. Immediately, a ladle of cold water was poured directly on Sword Douluo's face. With a slight groan, Sword Douluo finally woke up and became aware of everything around him. The hazy feeling of dizziness disappeared in an instant. His body suddenly became as tense as a string. Sword Douluo suddenly jumped up, and in an instant he had opened the distance between him and Suzanne. Why are you so anxious? If I wanted to kill you, I would have done it long ago. Seeing Sword Douluo's nervous look, Suzanne couldn't help but shook his head and comforted him. Who is your excellency? Looking at the white-haired and white-clothed old man in front of him, Sword Douluo tensed up, his heart in his throat, and he stared attentively without daring to move. Although just now, he was tricked and knocked unconscious. But being able to avoid his detection and actually being able to take him down easily speaks volumes. The strength of the other party is definitely beyond what I can contend with. And this was also the reason why he stood in front of him and talked without changing his expression. Because of his strength, he has become confident to this extent, just like he ignores other ants. I've already said it, why bother asking again? Xian said with a smile on his face. His face was calm, and his steady and domineering aura of calmness exuded from the inside out. Hearing this, Douluo raised his brows, as if he thought of something, and asked in a solemn voice, "Are you His Highness's teacher?" As soon as the words came out, Douluo's expression suddenly became strange. Didn't His Highness worship Fengzi as his master? Why did another master come out? Moreover, the opponent's strength is actually so powerful. It looks like you were still asleep just now. Xian put his hands on his back and walked over slowly, as if he were strolling in a leisurely garden, with ease and ease. No way. Pretending to be cool in front of a title Douluo feels very satisfying, but you have to show off enough. Glancing at the crescent moon and the horizon, Xian changed his words and said, "I heard that my disciple also became a disciple of that boy from the Kibao glazed sect. Is that right?" Although his voice was neither happy nor angry, Douluo felt a cold wind rushing towards his face, and the irresistible chill spread throughout his body in an instant. Ning Fengzi, that boy. If anyone else dared to say that, they would have been chopped to pieces long ago. However, Douluo didn't dare show the slightest anger on his face, and instead became more respectful. A breakthrough in strength to a title Douluo can extend one's lifespan. Who knows how long the old man in front of him has lived, just like the immortal Qian Douluo in Wuhan Palace. The person in front of me must be an old monster. Otherwise, how could you dare to call Ning Fengzi, the majestic leader of the Seven Treasures glazed sect, like that? Senior, it is indeed true that this matter was discussed by the Queen and Feng Zhi. Your Majesty was the first to nod. Douluo replied honestly. Seeing Douluo being so honest and respectful, Xian was also very satisfied. People who have no strength pretend to be pretentious, that is seeking death. A powerful person pretends to be a god, but he is a real god. Even if you don't believe it, you should also be aware of the rules of the Soul Master world. A disciple can only worship one teacher. I don't know, how do you plan to deal with this matter? The corner of Xian's mouth raised slightly, and he suddenly sneered. The eyes that looked at everything like dirt swept over him, and Douluo suddenly felt as if someone was strangling his neck. Why don't you, senior, follow me to meet Ning Fengzi of the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect and discuss this matter with him and the royal family? What do you think? Douluo said quickly. Discuss? With a chuckle, Xian looked at Douluo with a contemptuous smile. Do you think I need to discuss it with you? Being scolded so contemptuously by Xian, Douluo was a little angry, but unfortunately it was hard to get angry, so he had to endure it. Senior, you have to be reasonable in everything. His Highness has become a disciple, and the royal family has recognized it. Fengzi has indeed become a teacher. Xian waved his hand nonchalantly, his expression still confident. I've already asked my apprentice, and he didn't practice with you. Since he didn't learn, he can naturally regret it. Besides, is it possible that my status is inferior to that of your Kibao glazed sect? His eyes were filled with coldness, and a powerful energy suddenly burst out from Xian's body. Boom. Douluo's expression suddenly changed, and he quickly released his martial soul to block it in front of him. Only then was he able to stop his decline. Unexpectedly, Xian would be such a rogue, and Douluo's character became gloomy. Senior, are you planning to bully the younger ones? The long sword was held horizontally, with 9 soul rings circling around the sword body. A fierce and terrifying aura burst out from Douluo's body. Standing upright, Douluo's eyes were sharp, and his whole body seemed to be integrated with the sword in his hand. He was cold and solemn, making people shudder. Haha. Since you are Chenzun's grandson, I will give you some pointers. Xian suddenly became interested. He held his palm slightly, and a long black sword appeared in his hand. The long sword was completely black, but it exuded a sacred and soft glimmer. But the glimmer flickered and seemed to go out at any time. Clang. Realizing that the 7-kill sword was actually trembling, Sword Douluo couldn't help but tighten his arms and looked at Suzanne's face, which became even more solemn. Shengsun. This was his grandfather's name. If he actually knew him, he must be from the older generation. But why have I never heard of it? Ignoring any further thoughts, Sword Douluo focused his attention on everything. If that's the case, then please give me some advice, senior. With his eyes focused, it seemed that the surrounding air was pierced, and the 4th soul ring on Sword Douluo's sword suddenly lit up. Boom. With a wave of the long sword, a sharp sword light swayed out. The sharpness was so sharp that the heaven and earth were eclipsed by it. The sword light is not particularly big, on the contrary, it is only 2 meters small. However, only those with strong cultivation will understand that this sword light represents the super cultivation level of the master of swordsmanship. Scattered and wide does not mean strong. Gathered and gathered, hidden but not leaked. This is the terror of the master of swordsmanship. Watching the sword light speeding towards him, in Suzanne's eyes, data flashed one by one. Although he could dodge it, he did not choose to dodge it. Aha! Suzanne faced him directly, without using the energy in his body, and slashed down with the same black sword light. Looking at the sword light, Sword Douluo suddenly looked horrified, and the 6th soul ring on the sword lit up. Tens of thousands of long swords emerged, gathered in the long white dragon, and instantly condensed into a huge long sword. Boom. The giant sword chased the white sword light, and the 2 attacks directly met the black sword light, and then the 3 of them roared and exploded. Chapter 155 The 9th soul skill, killing both gods and demons. Boom. Black energy and white energy exploded, and the powerful energy impact forced Sword Douluo to take 6 steps back. As for Suzanne, a white energy barrier flashed across his body, eliminating everything invisible. Not even the corners of his clothes were damaged. Although the sword in my hand is not a super divine weapon, it is still a half-step super divine weapon. You can resist it. Yes, it is really good. Suzanne couldn't help but admire it. Senior, I'm overly praised. There was no trace of joy on his face, and Sword Douluo's heart seemed even heavier. He used 2 great soul skills to resist the sword light that fell gently, which shows how strong that sword is, and his master. Taking a deep breath, Sword Douluo was not discouraged, but his eyes became more focused. Boom. Suddenly, a white aura burst out from the soles of his feet, and the swelling airflow was like a blade, capable of blowing and breaking hair with just a touch. 7. Killing domain. Looking at the cold and biting airflow under his feet, Suzanne narrowed his eyes slightly, and a stream of data suddenly poured into his mind. In the 7-kill field, the attack power of the soul masters in it is reduced by 90%, the defense power is reduced by 70%, and the speed is reduced by 70%. Because the weakening effect does not distinguish between friends and foes, except the caster himself, it is generally not released. Seeing the following piece of information, Suzanne couldn't help but laugh. If put in a duel, this is definitely an extremely powerful skill. It's a pity that it can't be used in group battles, because it doesn't distinguish between ourselves and the enemy. Otherwise, it will really deceive teammates, especially when the enemy has domain resistance. Seeing that Suzanne did not dodge, Sword Douluo's heart trembled. His 70,000-year-old soul ring lit up, and the 7-kill sword suddenly burst into bright light. If the 7-kill sword looked very ordinary just now, now it is magnificent. Especially the sharpness that was unintentionally erupted from the sword, as if the eyes were being stung. The 7-killing sword has the highest attack power, and the sharpest weapon soul. The quality of the soul is not inferior to the clear sky hammer. Seeing that Sword Douluo was finally becoming serious, Suzanne's eyes became more serious. Aha! Suddenly, Sword Douluo's figure moved, and he rushed directly towards Suzanne. Bang! There was a heavy sound of metal colliding, and sparks exploded. After resisting Sword Douluo's sword, Suzanne also saw the sword energy surrounding the 7-kill sword. He must have known the power of his sword, and was afraid that his martial soul would be damaged. Whoosh! Pressing Suzanne's long sword tightly, the first 10,000-year soul ring on Sword Douluo's sword lit up. Black light shone on the two of them, and snow white airflow swirled around Suzanne and the two of them, like a tornado point. Although it is not a real sword, the sword energy that fills the sky is even more terrifying than the 7 kills sword. Just like the cold wind blowing from the 10,000-year glacier, Suzanne's heart also felt cold, but then it returned to its original temperature, and a green shield protected him again. Bang, bang, bang. The densely packed swords hit the shield airtightly, pinging like bullets. The sword energy did not spread out, but was concentrated to the point where it overflowed, as if it wanted to break through Suzanne's protective shield. The black sword in his hand suddenly swung, and the huge force directly threw Sword Douluo away. The black sword itself weighs 20,000 kilograms, and with Suzanne's strength at the moment, even if it is just a slight exertion, it is not something that Sword Douluo can resist. The weapon soul is different from the beast soul, in that it is not a blessing to the body itself. In addition, Sword Douluo pursues the ultimate sword attack, so it is not particularly powerful point stab. Seeing that the sword energy around him still hadn't subsided, and was still coming like a tide, Suzanne raised the sword, and stabbed it down suddenly, piercing the ground like tissue paper. Point boom. The black energy, centered on the long sword, exploded in an instant, and all the sword energy was defeated in an instant. Point even the 7 killing domain released by Sword Douluo was pushed back by the golden light on the sword. Your grandfather had a technique that combines human and sword into one. You must have this level of sword knowledge now, right? Suzanne asked curiously. Suzanne was a little regretful that he had not seen Tang Heo's great Sumeru hammer before. Sword Douluo's human sword fusion was a move that was almost the same as the great Sumeru hammer, so Suzanne would not miss it. Hearing this, Sword Douluo's eyes condensed, the 9th soul ring on the sole of his foot lit up, and a majestic and huge energy brewed in the sword body. Point call out, turning into a stream of light. Sword Douluo flew into the sky. Point suddenly, the sky brightened up, tearing open the dark curtain. Point in the sky, the vast white void suddenly expanded, and the white sword light poured down like a heavy rain. Point it was no longer the sword light like the 4th soul skill, but the sword light at this moment was even more breathtaking. It was pouring down like the overwhelming force of a mountain, seeming to cut into pieces everything within 100 meters radius. Everything was so eclipsed in the face of the sword light that filled the sky. This is also Sword Douluo's 9th soul skill, slashing both gods and demons. It can release a huge space in the sky, rain down countless sword lights, destroy the world, and even directly kill title Douluo of the same level. A test? Seeing that Sword Douluo actually didn't use the human sword fusion, Suzanne's lips slightly raised, and he didn't wait any longer. Aha! The black sword in his hand suddenly grew in size. The deep sword blade looked plain and simple, but the faint golden light looked unique. Suzanne put his hand on the end of the sword hilt, and pushed it out suddenly. The black giant sword rushed straight up, and collided with the sword light in the sky. In the sky, there was only the clanging sound of ping pong, as if countless swords were broken, and sparks kept flying. Seeing that the black sword was still rising into the air, Sword Douluo's face darkened, and the soul power around him surged in again. In an instant, the sword light in the white hole became more dense and faster, making it dazzling. Unfortunately, with this situation, Black Sword's speed just stagnated for a few minutes, and without any feeling of stopping, it still rushed forward. Sword Douluo's 9th soul skill is indeed very powerful, but the power of the half-step super artifact is stronger and more indestructible than his attacks. If you look carefully, you will find that the golden light around Black Sword directly breaks Sword Douluo's sword light, and the latter cannot even reach Xian. Coupled with the weight and speed of the black sword, it is not that easy for Sword Douluo to block the black sword. Seeing that all the attacks were blocked, the black sword rushed straight at him again. Sword Douluo gritted his teeth, and had no choice but to give up using his soul skills and use giant dodge call out. There was a sudden sound of breaking through the air, and Sword Douluo suddenly felt something bad in his heart. He glanced back slightly from the corner of his eye, and his heart suddenly lifted. I saw that the black sword that was originally charging straight up turned around and came directly towards me. This sword has spirituality. Sword Douluo's heart suddenly jumped. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 156 Your Majesty, let you guess. Boom. A fierce white light lit up in the night sky, like the sun, illuminating the entire night sky in an instant. Sword Douluo's figure disappeared, and then the white light quickly converged. The 7 kills sword seemed to be completely activated, and the sword kept cheering. The white light seemed to condense into substance, all gathered on the sword body, and a long sword that was completely white and shimmering with bright light was born. The edge was dim, but the attack power emitted by the 7 kills sword was more powerful than ever. Call out, knowing that the black sword would always follow him, and that he had experienced the power of the black sword. Sword Douluo did not hesitate at all, and directly used his most powerful attack point. His soul power and mental power were all he had, and they were all instilled in this sword at this moment. If it weren't for the secret of ring explosion and the great Sumeru hammer, he would definitely not be a match for this sword. The great Sumeru hammer still instills soul power and spiritual power, and is not as pure and thorough as Sword Douluo's fusion of man and sword. At this moment, the Sword Douluo, in addition to the ultimate Douluo, even an ordinary level 98 Super Douluo might be capable of fighting. Boom. The long white swords collided with the black swords in an instant, and the blazing white light jumped up, illuminating the surrounding area for more than 10 miles. What was shocking was that the black sword was actually knocked back and fell directly into Suzanne's hands as the black sword left. The 7 kills sword suddenly dimmed, and a voice slowly emerged. Rapid breathing sounds were heard, and Sword Douluo's face was pale at this moment, with sweat pouring down his face, as if he had experienced a serious illness. Why did you stop suddenly, seeing? Suzanne put away his sword. Sword Douluo gasped and asked, I'm afraid your sword will break. Suzanne shrugged and smiled. Though the power of the combination of man and sword is indeed very powerful, and Suzanne felt it at the moment of contact. However, the black sword is still at the super god level. If it really continues to fight to the death, it will definitely not be broken by the former. Unlike Tang Heo's family, they already hate Wuhan Palace to the core, and the conflict can no longer be eased. The relationship between the 7 treasure glazed tile sect and the empire is pretty good. As long as the 2 titled Douluo do not support it, the 7 treasure glazed tile sect does not even pose any threat. Outside of the Haitian sect, Suzanne didn't want to cut down all the others that didn't directly conflict with the empire and Wuhan Palace. It is not easy for a titled Douluo to cultivate. If one day he goes to another world, he can bring a group of younger brothers there to rob or something. As for the matter between Sword Douluo's father and Qinghe Liu, it was a duel between swordsmen, and the other party died with a smile on his face, so it was not a big grudge. Besides, Sword Douluo would never be able to defeat Qinghe Liu in the future, so that would have nothing to do with him. Hearing this, Sword Douluo did not refute and nodded silently. He also noticed the terror of the black sword. Although he was confident that he could withstand it with his own strength, the final result was not something he could bear. Maybe I will die. Taking a deep breath, Sword Douluo bowed slightly to Suzanne, expressing his gratitude to the other party for showing mercy. Nodding with satisfaction, Suzanne then reminded, although your human sword combination is strong, it is still a little short of the Haitian sect's explosive ring. If you can explode the soul ring, you can truly infuse all your body into 7. Among the killing swords, maybe you can surpass your grandfather's height. Thank you for your guidance, senior. The combination of man and sword is indeed inferior to the explosive ring. His father once told him, but he may not be able to understand such a magical skill, so he can only try it. As soon as he finished speaking, Sword Douluo continued, I wonder how you met my grandfather, senior. Chenzin was also very surprised when an old monster of the ultimate Douluo level suddenly appeared. He had never heard of him in the Soul Master world in 100 years. Even if he doesn't care about worldly affairs, no trace of him has been revealed, which is a bit strange. It doesn't matter if you don't mention the past. Old friends have passed away, and the past has passed away, so. Xian waved his hand, not even bothering to find an excuse. He couldn't help but be so arrogant because of his strength point anyway. My strength is here. Even if you guess, I will lose. If you guess right, I. Titled Taishang. You can also call me Taishang. Seeing Sword Douluo staring at him, Suzan narrowed his eyes slightly and replied immediately, "Senior, Sword." Douluo waved his hand quickly and saluted as a junior. The other person looked like he was of the same generation as his grandfather. How could he dare to call him Taishang directly? Suzan nodded. His eyes suddenly swept across the woods below, and his leisurely tone suddenly sounded, "Since we are here, you might as well come out. Why hide your head and show your tail?" The tone was neither salty nor light, but in everyone's ears, they felt like a ray of light on their backs, and a chill rushed from the soles of their feet to the sky, making them shudder. After a while, the sound of footsteps was heard. The first person to come out was an elderly man dressed in the red color of Wuhan Palace. He had a 5-pointed platinum crown on his head, and his old posture was as straight as a javelin point. Immediately, Ying, dressed in black, also walked out of the darkness and stood sideways, exuding a strange silence. He seemed to be silent, and you would never know where he was standing. After that, Douluo also appeared. His green hair was so dazzling under the night sky, but it was obviously much better than before. Salus, the Platinum Bishop of Wuhan Palace, has met the Supreme Senior. Salus was the first to speak, and the only one to speak. He looked respectful, as sincere and respectful as a simple and honest student. If he hadn't known who he was, he might have been deceived by his appearance. How could he be an honest person if he could become the Platinum Bishop of the Spirit Main Hall of Xian Dao City? As for Douluo and Ying, the former was independent and taciturn, while the latter was aloof, quiet, and reclusive, but the two of them did not speak. However, the two of them also bowed slightly to show respect. They saw clearly the battle just now. Even Sword Douluo couldn't hurt the opponent half a cent. With such strength, the horror is beyond description. It should be said that it is abnormal. I have accepted the eldest prince as my disciple, and the auction of the 100,000-year-old soul beast will be held in 7 days. The forces behind you can also participate. Suzan reminded. He felt sorry for not using his awesome status as a shield for himself. Disciple of Ultimate Douluo. With this title, who dares to make any mistakes? It is much more impressive than that prince's status at that time. If I want to enter the treasury to play, it will only be a matter of name. Hearing this, everyone had different reactions. Sword Douluo's face was slightly condensed, and he suddenly seemed to understand everything. His expression was somewhat similar to Poison Douluo's, who had a feeling of truth in his heart. Compared to Ying's excitement and ecstasy, Saras's face was a little ugly. The Empire suddenly had such a master, which was not good for their spirit hall. Ask for monthly votes, tips, and subscriptions. Chapter 157. Ning Fengzi. I'm shameless. The news has been spread out. The allure of the 100,000-year soul beast is here. I'm not afraid that no one will come to auction it. Of course, if someone dares to rob me, I will personally teach him how to behave. Let's see how many of you are more arrogant than Sword Douluo and dare to break into my mansion again. Let's go. Take me to meet the little guy from the Kibeo glazed sect. Suzan waved. Brat? Are you talking about Ning Fengzi? Sword Douluo's mouth twitched sharply, but he nodded and led Suzan away. The three of Salus looked at each other, and they seemed speechless, especially when Salus saw Poison Douluo and Ying staring at him. He snorted angrily, waved his sleeves, and left quickly. Nodding towards Poison Douluo, Ying's figure dissipated, like yellow sand, and disappeared. A 100,000-year-old soul beast with soul bones attached. After muttering to himself, Poison Douluo finally understood at this moment that the senior who had feelings just now was Suzan's biggest support. After thinking about it, Poison Douluo gave up on the 100,000-year soul beast and decided to focus on the external soul bone. Besides, with his current gold coins, it is impossible to take 2 pictures. After all, neither Kibeo glazed sect nor Wuhan Palace are vegetarians. Even if he auctioned off 2 things, if he couldn't keep them all, the titled Douluo would attack them the next day, and he wouldn't be able to defend them. Alas, greed is enough to make a snake swallow an elephant. Kibeo Glazed Sect's headquarters in Xiandao City point on the high building. Watching the white light outside the city dissipate, Ning Fengzi suddenly had a bad thought, and his brows suddenly furrowed. The fight just now was definitely Uncle Xian. But who is he fighting? Call out. Suddenly, two figures flew from the sky, and Ning Fengzi's eyes suddenly froze. One of them, Ning Fengzi naturally knew, was Sword Douluo. But who is the other old man with white hair, white clothes, and a ruddy face? Is it possible? Seeing the two of them going upstairs, Ning Fengzi's eyes flashed, and he immediately came down to greet them. Fengzi, this is the Supreme Senior, a figure of my grandfather's generation. Sword Douluo quickly opened his mouth to introduce, and at the same time, he also transmitted a message to tell him everything just now. What? Hearing that the opponent did not easily defeat Sword Douluo, who was going all out, Ning Fengzi also felt an uproar in his heart, and was extremely frightened. He knew exactly how strong Sword Douluo was, and he was defeated, even if he tried his best. Looking at Sword Douluo's pale face, his muscles seemed to be spasming. Ning Fengzi's face became even more shocked. Although he couldn't believe it in his heart, his intuition told him that everything was true. Ning Fengzi, I have met the Supreme Senior. Ning Fengzi did not dare to neglect and gave a slight junior salute. With a soft response, Suzanne looked at Ning Fengzi, as if seeing him for the first time. I came here just to deal with King's problem. King. Ning Fengzi looked strange. He didn't know what this matter had to do with him. He subconsciously looked at Sword Douluo, who also quickly informed him. Well, after listening, Ning Fengzi's expression suddenly became strange, and he suddenly felt that he was choked and speechless. Damn it, he is here to steal his apprentice. Depend on, it's okay for a senior to be so unreasonable. No matter what, I'm also the sect leader of the Kibeo Glazed Sect and the legitimate teacher of the eldest prince. If he suddenly retreats, how can Kibeo Liuli gain a foothold in the top 3 sects? Doesn't Ning Fengzi not want to lose face? Ning Fengzi said sadly, Senior, King has already accepted me as his disciple. This is his personal agreement and the intention of His Majesty and the Queen. I'm afraid what Senior is doing is a little inappropriate, right? If it had been anyone else who dared to compete with him to become his apprentice, he would have been hacked to death long ago. Even Contra didn't dare to do this to him. But facing the old man in front of him, Ning Fengzi had no choice but to swallow his anger and speak the truth. No way. Sword Douluo knelt down easily. Even if there was another Bone Douluo, it would probably not help. If given the chance, he would really like to win over such a top powerhouse. By then, the ranking of the 3 sects will not be as simple as the Kibeo Glazed Sect ranking second. As for the Emperor and the Empress, I can just go and talk about it. As for King, who also agreed, it depends on what sect leader Ning decides. Suzanne said with a smile. He originally agreed to Ning Fengzi just for the gold coins of the Kibeo Glazed Sect. Nonsense. It was for the long-term peace and stability of the empire. But now I suddenly realized that I was too awesome and invincible. It would be really not worth it to become a disciple and sell myself. You must leave yourself some room for promotion. Hearing this, Ning Fengzi felt like 1,000 grass and mud horses galloping past. Grass. What the hell are these words? Isn't this naked exploitation and oppression? With your cultivation level, if you reveal a little bit of your meaning, can Emperor Zuai and the others not change their words? Even a fool knows how to choose. Ning Fengzi's face darkened, and he did not have that calm expression. Senior, everyone in Xiandao City knows that I'm the first prince's disciple. To suddenly regret it now is to disgrace our Kibeo Glazed Sect. You're thinking about it. Hearing this, Suzanne couldn't help but nodded. He was not the kind of domineering and unreasonable person. He always convinced people with reason. The truth is true. I heard that the Kibeo Glazed Sect seems to have some restrictions on martial arts, right? Suzanne asked thoughtfully. Well, seeing that Suzanne's topic had changed so drastically, Ning Fengzi was slightly stunned, then nodded. Although the Kibeo Glazed Pagoda martial spirit is an extremely powerful auxiliary martial spirit, the upper limit it can reach is limited. Generally, level 79 is considered the end point. In his words, Ning Fengzi was also filled with helplessness and bitterness. Their Seven Treasures glazed sect had not had an auxiliary titled Douluo for a long time, not even a soul Douluo. Now that his soul power has reached level 75, he is finding it increasingly difficult to improve his soul power. Due to the limitations of his martial soul, he is helpless. Hearing this, Suzanne suddenly smiled, with a cunning look deep in his eyes. I have traveled across the continent for 100 years, and found a strange herb that can help the evolution of the martial spirit. It may also be able to help sect mastering. Suzanne stroked his beard, and said with a smile, "Is what Senior said true?" Upon hearing this, Ningfeng's eyes suddenly burst into light, staring at Suzanne feverishly, and asked breathlessly, "Whether it's true or not, you'll know when you go to the auction and take a look. Maybe it's true, maybe it's fake." Suzanne said enigmatically, pointing Fengzi. "Damn it, whether it's true or not, it all depends on whether I agree to quit, right? Depend on, do you think I, the majestic leader of the Kibeo glazed sect, would betray my face for a piece of fairy grass that is conducive to the evolution of martial souls? This is absolutely impossible. Ahem. If what Senior said is true, I will naturally know what to do. Why don't you ask Senior not to break your promise?" Of course. Chapter 158. When have I ever been honest? Ningfengzi. As the leader of the Kibeo glazed sect, the first priority must be to strengthen the Kibeo glazed sect. As for other trivial matters, they are not of concern. Even though it was embarrassing, the matter was irreversible. No one could resist the temptation of becoming a disciple of an ultimate Douluo. The royal family can't, Zuking can't, not even Ningfengzi can. Therefore, in an irreversible situation, he must take the most profitable measures. If he could become a titled Douluo, the status of the Seven Treasures glazed sect would be even more stable. Seeing that Ningfengzi was so sincere, Suzanne felt that there was nothing to say. "Yeah, just wait for you to pay." Originally, Suzanne wanted to auction a fairy grass, and the best buyer must be Ningfengzi. Now is a good time to remind him, in case he doesn't bring enough money with him when the time comes. His auction will be of top quality. In a word, no credit, no exceptions. The person with the attached soul bone has long been determined, and Suzanne was not wrong about the person. Douluo is also ruthless. He caused a lot of trouble in the Balak Kingdom, and he must have over 100 million gold coins in his pocket now. 100,000-year soul beast. Suzanne was heading to the Wuhan Palace, and his mother-in-law Bibi Dangti definitely hoped to get 100,000-year spider-type soul beast. But this time, he wanted to collect money, and he couldn't give it away, even if he was killed. When the time comes, I will auction some other soul bones and the like, ensuring that I can get all the money from the major forces into my pocket. Ahem. Since Sect Master Ning has agreed, I will take my leave. Senior, if you are free, you might as well come to our Kibeo glazed sect as a guest. I will definitely sweep the couch to welcome you. Seeing that Suzanne was about to leave, Ningfengzi quickly expressed his stance. Suzanne was also startled and then smiled. Good, there are really not many people who ask you to go to his house to get money. Suzanne smiled and walked back all the way. His figure disappeared like a flash of thunder and lightning. Seeing Suzanne disappear, Sword Douluo ran breath to sigh of relief. His steps became shaky, and he actually collapsed. Uncle Xian, are you okay? Seeing Sword Douluo like this, Ningfengzi quickly supported him, his face full of panic. It's okay, it's just that the soul power and physical strength are consumed too much, and I'm a little unable to do what I want. Sword Douluo gritted his teeth, and slowly stood up. The weakness and emptiness in his body made him feel like he would fall down again. The consumption of the fusion of man and sword is too great, as if the soul has been pulled out of the sword. If there are no inevitable factors, Sword Douluo will never use this move. Uncle Xian, you can have a good rest here, and I won't disturb you. Seeing that Sword Douluo had managed to hold on until now, Ningfengzi couldn't help but feel a little distressed. He sighed, and then prepared to leave, not to disturb Sword Douluo's rest and recuperation. Fengzi, what kind of herb is that? Sword Douluo nodded and did not hold back, but when he saw Ningfengzi was about to step out, he couldn't help but remind him. Uncle Xian, please rest assured and rest. I have a sense of discretion regarding herbs. Ning. Feng Xi interrupted. His expressionless expression suddenly showed determination, and his eyes seemed to be filled with excitement. That confident aura was undoubtedly the Ning Feng Xi he knew. Sword Douluo couldn't help, but nodded and did not continue. Point on the other side, Suzanne became invisible and got rid of all the pursuers and returned to the mansion alone. Point. After releasing his invisibility, Suzanne had just stepped into the bedroom when a golden longsword suddenly stabbed him. Fuck. Suzanne suddenly cursed. Fortunately, he had not cancelled the function transfer now, otherwise he would not have been able to bear such a fierce sword. Click. Two fingers suddenly clamped the long sword without moving at all. Suzanne breathed a sigh of relief. I said, wife, it's okay. Why are you making such a fuss? Murder your husband. Looking at Xian Ringsu, who was facing a formidable enemy, Suzanne sighed helplessly and shouted angrily. Who are you? Hearing this familiar tone, Xian Ringsu's expression froze, and she looked around at Suzanne's appearance at the moment, her face full of disbelief. You don't even recognize me. As soon as the words came out, Suzanne realized that he was still in a transformed state and quickly returned to his original form. I changed my body a little, otherwise I'm afraid of being recognized. Suzanne chuckled and then released his fingers from the sword. Seeing that it was really Suzanne, Xian Ringsu put away her sword with lingering fear. She had noticed the old man entering the bedroom just now and thought someone was coming. So, you were responsible for the movement just now? Xian Ringsu walked over and said with a smile. Suzanne nodded, subconsciously hugged Xian Ringsu, faced her angelic face, and explained. Sword Douluo broke into the mansion just now, and he went to give some people a warning so as not to engage in such robberies and dog robberies all the time. Then what did you look like just now? Xian Ringsu asked hesitantly, her bright eyes full of curiosity. She knew that Suzanne usually wore the silver mecha when fighting, but now he suddenly changed into such an outfit, which really made her unrecognizable. Isn't this about the auction? How can our royal family keep so many treasures? So I brought a master out and called the Supreme Lord. Please don't expose the secret. Suzanne replied. Xian Ringsu patted Suzanne's chest and couldn't help but joke. I also said that you are so at ease and not afraid of being exposed. It turns out that you have been prepared for it. Xian Ringsu's smiling face had a touch of pink. Suzanne rubbed her forehead with his head and replied with some satisfaction. If I wasn't prepared, how could I dare to worry about the auction? You are too small for me. Don't move. Pretend to be a teacher. You are enough. I wonder how it feels to be your own master. Xian Ringsu straightened Suzanne's erratic head. Her cheeks were rosy, and she joked angrily. Of course it's not as good as being a wife's husband. Suzanne replied with a wicked smile. You know how to make fun of me. Xian Ringsu suddenly turned red and quickly broke away from the embrace. Suzanne smiled, then took Xian Ringsu's hand and came to the bedside. In an instant, all the candles around him were extinguished. There was a scream, followed by a dull creaking sound, and two figures fell onto the bed. What are you doing? Xian Ringsu said angrily. Didn't you just want me to go to bed early? Didn't I listen to you, wife? Then be honest and don't move. Don't you know, when will I be honest? When will I not be honest? In the bedroom, the chattering voice became smaller and smaller, and the moon in the sky became brighter and brighter. The white moonlight shines into the house through the hazy window screen. It is quiet and warm. Two figures can be faintly seen hugging each other and sleeping. It is so comfortable. Point asking for monthly ticket. Chapter 159. Emperor Zhuai is out of tune. Your Highness, it's not good. Please get up quickly. It was slightly bright in the early morning, and Suzanne were still sleeping when they were woken up by a rapid knock on the door. We'll talk about it later. Don't bother me. Drowsily, Suzanne touched a convenient object beside the pillow, threw it directly, and yelled angrily. Forget it. If you argue at night, why bother arguing so early in the morning? If the sky falls, he will be the one holding it. Bang! A crisp crash sounded, and Qingheo outside the door was stunned. He hesitated to speak. Qingheo's face was so aggrieved that she was about to cry. She didn't know whether she should continue knocking on the door and calling Your Majesty is here. This is really urgent. If he hadn't heard from himself that he and the princess were sleeping in the same room, His Majesty would have rushed over long ago, and it would be his turn to remind him. Point on the bed. Seeing Suzanne sleeping like a dead pig, Xian Rongsu laughed dumbly, quietly let go of his arm, and got up from the bed. What happened? After straightening her clothes, Xian Rongsu opened the door. Seeing Qinghe's anxious look, she lowered her voice and asked. Seeing Xian Rongsu, Qinghe suddenly felt a sense of surprise at seeing her savior, and said quickly, back to Madam, Your Majesty is here. He seems to be in a very bad mood. You'd better go and have a look. Shouldn't my father be at court for discussion? Xian Rongsu frowned immediately and looked at Suzanne's current state. This guy came back in the middle of the night last night. After that, it was noisy for another hour before it calmed down. Now I have only slept for 2 hours. How can I get up? Alas, Xian Rongsu sighed helplessly and had to pack up and go to see Emperor Zhuyi. In the main hall, Emperor Zhuyi was walking back and forth, his expression extremely anxious, and even his face was trembling. His hands and feet were nowhere to be found, and he was standing uneasily, which did not look like what an emperor should look like. Tap tap tap. Hearing the sound of footsteps, Emperor Zhuyi was overjoyed. But when he saw it was Xuan, his expression suddenly froze. Ahem. After coughing twice, Emperor Zhuyi returned to his majestic appearance in the blink of an eye. Why did the emperor come here so early? What airs are you putting on? Just try your best to be happy and pretend to be here with me. Seeing Emperor Zhuyi's serious look, Xuan suddenly became furious and snorted with white eyes. It's not like he didn't get the news. How could he not know what happened last night? What are you asking me for? What a little brat. You were still wearing crotchless pants while I was playing tricks. Hey. Hearing this, Emperor Zhuyi suddenly became silly and happy and did not continue the performance. After all, this matter was a happy event for the entire royal family. The son was suddenly valued by a strong man who was suspected of being an extreme Douluo, which meant that their royal family would also have a strong man with a titled Douluo level from now on. He, the emperor, can finally straighten his back and be a man, and no longer has to worry about kidney deficiency. Wow, don't stop me. Just let me die. Seeing Emperor Zhuyi looking silly and happy, Xuan ignored him and sat down on her own. Alas, he has become an emperor, but he still has such a childish mentality. How can he be like me? Even if the mountain collapses before him, he will not change his color. You've already come to the house. Why hasn't that boy from King come out to pick you up? Xuan said impatiently. This servant said it's inconvenient for him right now. Emperor Zhuyi's face tightened, and he was a little embarrassed to speak. The majestic eldest prince of the empire is still sleeping with his wife. Wow, yeah. I don't know how I gave birth to such a excellent son. Hearing this, Xuan's expression was slightly stagnant. He immediately thought of Suzanne's style in the army and couldn't help but laugh. Zhuyi, we feel that King is getting more and more nervous, like you were when you were a child. Zhuyi, I'm so excited. I'm the majestic king of a country, but I'm being criticized by others for being disrespectful. Am I shameless? Besides, when did I not adjust? Uncle. Emperor, what did you say? When did I lose my temper? Emperor Zhuyi replied resentfully. Xuan rolled his eyes at Zhuyi, his face full of disdain, and started to scold him while drinking tea. Robbing my wife on the street, wasn't it you who did it? Should be more familiar with the walls at Nangan Yunshan's house than he is, right? Besides, cough. Uncle, please stop talking. Hearing his old nuggets being exposed piece by piece, Emperor Zhuyi's face turned red, and his face was as shy as a quail's with embarrassment written all over it. MMP, this is all a thing of the past. As the emperor now, can't you give me some face? Outside the door, after hearing the conversation between the two, Xian Rongsu burst into laughter. She covered her delicate lips with her delicate hands, wondering whether she should come in at this moment. Noticing Xian Rongsu at the door, Emperor Zhuyi was even more confused, as if he saw a crow flying across the sky. It's over. My glorious image is all gone. What a sin. Uncle Huang, I hate you. Zhuyi, coming quickly. The smile on Xuan's face became even bigger. She waved to Xian Ringsu and teased the embarrassed Emperor Zuyi, feeling very comfortable in her heart. By the way, why didn't King come with you, Su? Xian and Xian Ringsu have always been inseparable. Seeing Xian Ringsu alone now, Xuan couldn't help but ask, Master, came here last night, so I practiced a little late. Looking at the two of them, Xian Ringsu's expression remained unchanged. She had already thought of her words. No wonder. The two of them nodded in understanding. No wonder he was in Xiandao City last night and has already started teaching love classes. Good teacher. Absolutely good teachers. They agree with this with both hands and feet. The inner joy was even greater. Zuyi and the other two didn't care about Suzanne sleeping. They just thought it was natural. Zua, tell father the truth about how you met the teacher. Emperor Zuyi said, okay. Xian Ringsu nodded and then began to weave a lie that didn't look like a lie. The general meaning was, the two of them met the supreme leader while traveling in the Fasno province. The latter saw that Suzanne had already reached the realm of the soul sect at a young age. He couldn't help but feel happy and offered to accept him as his disciple. Finally, after the other party's persuasion, Suzanne agreed, but he needed to come back to discuss the matter with Emperor Zuyi and the others. After all, where was Ning Fengzi? Ahem. Becoming a disciple is a major event in life. Just make your own decision. We will definitely support you. Hearing that he wanted to discuss with himself and others, Emperor Zui quickly waved his hand and expressed his stance with a flattered look. Discuss, this kind of thing still needs to be discussed. That's right, you don't need to listen to Zuyi and the others. Just make your own decision. Zuin also said sternly. He was afraid that this discussion would delay the time and the other party would change their mind, and they would not have time to cry by then. Chapter 160 Zooming Tongue. You are playing me. Zua, I wonder where the teacher is now? After some warnings, Emperor Zui immediately asked the most critical question, which was also the main purpose of his visit this time. As soon as the words came out, Zuan's eyes flashed with excitement, and she looked at Xian Ringsu excitedly. Teacher, he likes to travel around. He has gone to other places, but he should come back for the auction later. Xian Ringsu explained without changing her expression. That's a pity, Emperor. Zuyi and Zuan were a little disappointed. He was a top-level expert in the world, but they didn't have the opportunity to meet him and catch a glimpse of him. However, fortunately, he will come back later, so it's not like there won't be opportunities to get close to him. Xian Ringsu had been repeatedly warned to notify them immediately if the teacher came back. Seeing Xian Ringsu's immediate assurance, the two of them left safely. After seeing the two of them off, Xian Ringsu also returned to the bedroom. As she expected, Suzanne did not get up. What's this? Suddenly, her foot seemed to hit something, and Xian Ringsu immediately lowered her head. Xian Ringsu suddenly became happy after picking up the crystal doll on the ground. This is something he just threw down. It looks pretty good. Thinking it was not a valuable item, Xian Ringsu kept it herself, planning to give it to Suzanne after he woke up. After a while, Ning Fengzi also came, saying that he wanted to discuss the master-disciple matter with Suzanne, but he was blocked by Xian Ringsu. It wasn't until noon that Suzanne woke up. Ning Fengzi came here just now. I think it's because of your business. Xian Ringsu reminded Suzanne as he came, while tidying up Suzanne's clothes thoughtfully. Well, I understand. I guess he will come again later. Suzanne nodded and replied, had defrauded the Kibeo glazed sect of so much money, and was about to terminate the master-disciple relationship. It seemed like he was not a human being. But who allows them to show off their wealth without cheating them, or stimulating their motivation to create wealth? According to the famous economist Su, consumption is the driving force for production. Without consumption, the market cannot prosper. Therefore, although his move was despicable, it was for the benefit of the entire Xiandao city. No rebuttal accepted. After lunch, seeing that Suzanne seemed to be going out again, Xian Ringsu couldn't help but ask, didn't you say that Ning Fengzi would come over? Aren't you afraid that, if he comes over, you'll be in vain again? It's okay. Anyway, we will encounter you in the future, at least once or twice, so. Xian waved his hand nonchalantly. He had something important to do when he went out. This was something that would affect the rest of his life. He could naturally tell the difference between what was important and what was minor. Seeing Suzanne leave like this, Qian Bingsu was speechless. After all, the other party is also the sect leader of the Kibeo glazed sect. Even Emperor Zhu, I dare not disrespect him. You'd better. Not only did he trick him, but now he is letting him go? Being a prince is even better than being an emperor, and you are considered the first one. After leaving the prince's mansion, Suzanne went straight to the palace. As a prince, he must fight for what he deserves. Even if his body is shattered in this journey, he will not hesitate. Alright, if he doesn't take advantage of the Supreme Being's reputation and popularity to fight for his own rights and interests, who knows whether Emperor Zhu Yi will compromise in the future? What if he is forced to become the emperor? That's right. Suzanne decided to make himself a king. He had already chosen a name, and he would be called King Xiao. Then, after obtaining his own fiefdom, he began to modernize. He has almost moved to the earth. If he doesn't make this world look like something he is familiar with, he feels it is a waste. Others travel through time and adapt to this world. I traveled through time and made the world adapt to me. This is my only one. When Suzanne thought of this, he felt a little happy and felt a gust of wind as he walked. Suzanne has had enough of this world. From today on, he wants to change the world. Why go out and ride in a horse-drawn carriage for a week? Isn't it good for high-speed rail and airplanes? Why don't he enjoy fishing and playing chess when he has nothing to do and spend the afternoon playing games online? Nothing else. Just do it. As soon as she stepped into the palace gate, Suzanne saw two idiots, and her mood suddenly dropped. Brother, congratulations. Zhu Wuji came forward with a smile on his face, his face full of envy and happiness. It was his dream to be accepted as a disciple by a titled Douluo, let alone become the most powerful one. Brother. Alas, looking at Suzanne, Zoomington hesitated to speak and finally let out a long. His expression was full of loneliness, as if he had been deceived and aggrieved. Originally, when he heard that Suzanne didn't plan to become emperor, he thought his chance had come, but now, very meow, this is no chance. It is simply not giving yourself away to survive. Originally, eldest brother, you had many supporters, and grandpa and the others also favored you. 10 days ago, we made another great contribution on the border and saved countless soldiers. Poison Douluo has a close relationship with you, and now you have an extremely powerful person as your disciple. So, where is the hope of becoming emperor? Originally he still had some hope, but now, what's weird, he was shot dead directly on the beach. Don't want to be an emperor, you're just trying to play me on purpose. Mingtong, what's wrong with you? Seeing Zhu Mingtong sighing and looking listless, as if he thought he had been eviscerated by the vixen last night, Suzanne couldn't help but ask. Brother, no one is your opponent now. I also plan to give up this throne. I will continue to be an idle prince from now on. Looking at the sky, Zhu Mingtong sighed, slowly lowered his noble expression, and accepted his fate. Ahem. Upon hearing this, Suzanne was immediately out of breath and coughed rapidly. Pointing his finger directly at Zhu Mingtong, Suzanne suddenly felt unbearable pain in his heart, heart-wrenching anger, and wished he could kill this thing in one chapter. I gave you the throne, but you actually dare to return it. Do you think you are shopping? Can you still return it? Especially, I'm going to ask for the title of king. Now you are telling me that you are not the emperor. Is this what a human does? If it weren't for his biological brother, Suzanne would really want to slap this cheater to death. Give me a reason, or I will chop you with my sword now. Suzanne's face was a little twisted, and he gritted his teeth and roared, brother, if I become the emperor, can I control you? Do you think I'm like an emperor, or do you think you are like an emperor? Zhu Mingtong let out a sigh that came from his soul. Just when he was about to talk about the future, suddenly someone directly photographed him on the forehead, and a roar rang out. It's so shameful for you, isn't it? You actually want to order me? Okay, you have a big heart. Suzanne said ferociously. Zhu Mingtong, woohoo, I knew it was like this. End of update chapter 161. Suzanne, want to be crowned king? You said that you two are not good at anything. You are the first in the list of earners. Do you have any qualities to be a prince? Seeing Zhu Mingtang wanting to cry, but not having tears, and Zhu Wuji laughing stupidly, Suzan gritted his teeth and then started to curse. Especially you, Zhu Wuji, you are not qualified to be a prince. Look at all the bad things you have done. I'm not talking about you. Other people's heads are on their necks. Your head was kicked like a ball, and your IQ was all over the floor. The more he listened, the darker his face became. Zhu Wuji's face drooped, and he exuded an air of resentment, looking like the baby doesn't want to talk. Damn it. I've already read this article. Okay. Can I bring it up again? After speaking, Suzanne turned to look at Zhu Mingtang again, still feeling a little heartbroken. This guy's a big trouble. Zhu Wuji's IQ is not enough, but he can still lock him up at home and prevent him from coming out to harm other people. Zhu Mingtang is disheartened about the throne. What the hell is going on? I'm planning to ask for the title of king today. Are you kidding me when you tell me that you don't want to be the emperor? Or is my sword bad for you? Isn't my fist fierce? Third, brother, isn't it good to be an emperor? You will be rich all over the world, have power over all the wastelands, and enjoy the highest treatment in the world. You ask the others, who doesn't want to be the emperor? That is to say, eldest brother, I'm kind-hearted and don't want to see brothers fighting each other, so I gave up the throne to you. Oh, why don't you understand my good intentions, brother? Clutching her chest, Suzanne was so heartbroken that she just needed an onion to squeeze out a few tears. Zhu Mingtang, on the other hand, was initially a little moved when he heard the previous words, but when he heard the rest, he suddenly woke up. His intuition told him that there must be a pit inside. Don't understand your good intentions? If other people said this, he would believe it, but brother, you, intimidation, cruelty, despicability, all of them are talking about you. Repay your good intentions. Sorry, he wouldn't believe it even to death. Brother, tell the truth. Why do you not want to be the emperor? Zhu Mingtang muttered and asked. He didn't believe that Suzanne would be so kind. He just didn't want brothers to kill each other. After all, in the current situation, even if others want to fight for the throne, they are hurting themselves. No one will be so stupid, of course, to be the emperor. Ahem. Forget it. Just don't talk about it. Seeing Zhu Mingtang staring at him with dazzle, Suzanne suddenly woke up and quickly changed his words. He will not express the pain of being an emperor like others, and in the end, make you all fear the throne. I, my dear, will never let you return the throne, not even to death. Seeing Suzanne wake up in the blink of an eye, Zhu Mingtang's face was full of loss and boredom. He originally thought he could pull something out, but he didn't expect him to be so alert. Forget it. I'm tired of scolding. Today I'm here to ask my father to be crowned king. You all should be more discerning. Patting Zhu Mingtang's shoulder, Suzanne said with a serious face and meticulously boom, like thunder on the ground. Hong Zhangdalu shook in his mind, and Zhu Mingtang and Zhu Wuji were immediately stunned. Become a king. Damn it. You really don't want to be the emperor, so please watch it later and tell me carefully. With that said, Suzanne ignored the stunned two people and went straight to the study room in the main hall. Third, brother, did I hear correctly just now? Did you mean to be crowned king? Zhu Mingtang asked in disbelief, his face full of surprise. Snapped. Zhu Wuji nodded subconsciously, then reacted and slapped him directly. The crisp sound sounded painful. What the hell? Why are you hitting me? Zhu Mingtang roared angrily. Ahem. Let you know it's not a dream. Saying that, Zhu Wuji quickly followed. Zhu Mingtang, thank you so much. In the study room of the main hall of the palace, Zhu Yi was dealing with affairs reported in various newspapers. Although he looked very busy, there was always a faint smile on his lips, as if he had eaten honey. No way. Their Xian Dao Empire finally has a titled Douluo in charge, and the opponent is extremely powerful. As an emperor, he feels comfortable. But soon, Emperor Zhu might not be able to feel comfortable anymore. Yes, he's here. King, why are you here at the palace? Come on, come on. What are you talking about with your father? Seeing Suzanne, Emperor Zhu Yi immediately beamed and waved his hand to tell him to come forward quickly, not even paying attention to his trespassing. Father, I came here to ask you to make me king, Suzanne said seriously. As soon as these words came out, the smile on Emperor Xue's face suddenly froze. An evil energy suddenly surged, dyeing his entire face black. King, do you know what you are talking about? Emperor Xue suppressed his anger and shouted through gritted teeth. Once you are crowned king, you will basically lose 50% of the possibility of inheriting the throne. This is tantamount to killing your own wings. Father, I have thought clearly. Since I have become my teacher, the teacher also said that my future achievements will definitely not be lower than those of a titled Douluo. But if you want to be an emperor and deal with big and small affairs every day, how can you have time to practice? The empire will lose nothing if it loses an emperor heir, but it will have a huge impact if it loses a titled Douluo. Suzan said sincerely. Hearing this, Emperor Xue remained silent. He knew better than anyone else that Suzan was talking nonsense, but his last words touched him deeply. Titled Douluo is really very important to the existence of the empire, especially after he became the emperor. This feeling became more and more clear. King, don't you have your teacher? With his old man supporting the empire, there is no need to worry about this. Emperor Xue persuaded point with Suzan's talents, abilities and methods, as well as being sinister and despicable. He is definitely a good candidate to become emperor, and Emperor Xue doesn't want to give up. Father, as the emperor, how can you think like this? Hearing this, Suzan felt even more heartbroken. Under Xue's confused gaze, he shouted in a deep voice, the empire will always be the empire of the royal family. All other external forces are external forces. Forging iron requires hard work. How can you don't understand? Father, Emperor Xue, I have a saying that mom sells batches. I don't know whether I should say it or not. How can I, the emperor, not know this? I don't want to give up on you. Have you really thought about it clearly? Emperor Xue shouted coldly, staring at Suzan with his tiger eyes. He had long known that Suzan was not interested in the throne and originally thought he could change his mind. Later, Suzan's deeds satisfied him, especially the appearance of the Supreme Being, which gave him great hope. But now, he had to reconsider this matter thanks to Hidden Emperor. For the 10,000 rewards, more updates are in progress. Chapter 162. Xue has no choice but to be named Xueo King. Looking at Emperor Xue firmly, Suzan nodded slowly. Alas, seeing this, Emperor Xue suddenly felt a little tired. He had worked hard to get this position. He never thought that one day, his son would despise it. I understand, and I will consider your request, Emperor. Xue waved his hand feebly, saying that Emperor Xue wanted Suzan to leave first. Then he covered his forehead with his hand, and his mood became very depressed. Father, if you can, please remember to consider the matter of my fiefdom. I don't ask too much. It's best if it's near Xian city. Suzan reminded kindly. Fiefdom, this is what he is most concerned about at the moment. The title of king is nothing more than a fiefdom. Only in this way can he go to the fiefdom and live his small life leisurely. It's a pity that the entertainment city has already been built. Otherwise, it could be built in your own fiefdom. That would be great. Okay, I will consider it, Emperor. Xue waved his hand impatiently, wishing that Suzan would leave as soon as possible to avoid being upset and panicking. Remember to hurry up. I can't wait too long. If you delay my cultivation, my father will regret it. Xian took 2 steps and then stopped. He seemed a little worried about Xue's credibility and reminded him again. Emperor Xue, regret. I just want to strangle you to death. Go. Emperor Xue roared angrily, his face as black as ink. Okay, with a nonchalant grimace, Suzan left the study in a happy mood. He originally thought it would be quite difficult, but he didn't expect that Emperor Xue would be persuaded just like that. Bye, throne thief, here I come. Wow, brother, do you really want your father to make you king? Seeing Suzan come out happily, Zhu Wuji and Zhu Mingtang came forward happily. Great hope suddenly appeared in their eyes, as if they had seen their own future. Well, my father has agreed to consider it, and you must work hard yourself. After saying that, Suzan turned his eyes to Zhu Mingtang, especially you, third brother, you have to work hard, and don't let everyone down. If you let your second brother take the throne, you will be worse than a pig. Zhu Wuji's face turned dark. Damn it. You say it's yours. Why are you calling me? Also, who the hell is a pig? Zhu. Mingtang raised the corners of his mouth slightly, nodded with a suppressed smile, and glanced at Zhu Wuji from the corner of his eye, with a strong sense of confidence in his eyes at his level. It would be nice to be able to take care of himself. Still fighting for the throne. Unless the father is blind, the throne will be passed on to him. However, why do you feel that the throne has become cheap? Looking at Suzanne's leaving figure, Zhu Mingtang really couldn't figure out what he was thinking. He wanted to become a prince instead of giving up the throne. Seeing Suzanne and Zhu Mingtang leave, Zhu Wuji gritted his teeth and then entered the study room in the main hall. He can't be an emperor, but he can be a prince like his eldest brother, right? It was just in time to leave Xian City to avoid causing any more trouble. He might as well go to the fiefdom to cause trouble. No one would care about him anyway. 1 minute later, boom, a figure flew out from the main hall, fell to the ground, and then a roar sounded. Not a son of man. From today onwards, I will shut myself up and think about my mistakes. You will not step out of the palace without my order. Zhu Wuji. They are both princes, and they are all crowned kings. Why treat them differently? Woohoo, it's really hard for me. Dragging his scarred body, Zhu Wuji looked at the hall with a resentful look, and left with a bruised nose and a swollen face. 2 major events in a row broke the originally peaceful atmosphere of Xian City. 100,000 year soul beast auction. The eldest prince requests to be crowned king, especially the upper class people. They know some inside stories, and know that they are all related to Suzanne. For a time, Suzanne was pushed to the forefront, and became a hot topic among the nobles. However, Suzanne didn't care at all. Nangang Yunshan, Nangang Ling and others also came to see Suzanne, especially Zuan, but seeing that Suzanne was resolute and insistent, they were helpless. The throne of the Xiandao Empire is indeed very noble and controls the life and death of most people, but sometimes it can become a shackles, especially for the cultivation of soul masters. After understanding Suzanne's mind, they did not continue to persuade him. Is it better to be the emperor or the titled Douluo? It's not easy to choose here. However, for the royal family, the emperor is never in short supply, but what is in short supply is titled Douluo. Seeing that everyone's persuasion was fruitless, Emperor Zhuai finally issued an edict to confer Suzanne as Xiao king. The fiefdom was located in Mingaya City near Xiandao City, which was considered an important place in the capital. As for the king's coronation ceremony, it will be postponed, because Suzanne is not yet an adult. Emperor Zhuai did not deliberately make things difficult for him when he was granted the title of king this time. Perhaps he knew that Suzanne would not compromise, and was afraid that he would cause trouble again. So he went along with Suzanne's wishes, or maybe it's for other reasons. Who knows? The emperor's thoughts are always so elusive. Suzanne didn't bother to think about it. At this moment, he was desperately looking for something at home. MMP. That was something worth millions of gold coins. It was lost. As soon as it was lost, without even a clue. What are you looking for? Seeing the mess in the room, Suzanne was up jumping and down anxiously, while Qian Ringsu looked angry but curious. I'm looking for my phone. Suzanne didn't look back, and continued searching through the boxes and cabinets. That was the most precious thing I got from the last instant kill. I only used it once, so I couldn't just throw it away. Mobile phone. What is that? Qian Ringsu walked over and asked. The mobile phone is. Suzanne blurted out uncontrollably, but suddenly paused, not knowing how to explain. Mobile phones, communication technology products. Then, 3000 questions can officially begin. This cannot be explained clearly in a few sentences. Stop asking. Help me find a crystal doll first. That thing is expensive. So, Xian waved his hand hastily and started searching again. This thing has a high level of technology. Metal detectors and infrared rays cannot detect it, so you can only find it with your eyes. Is this what you're looking for? Upon hearing the word crystal doll, Qian Ringsu's mouth twitched slightly, and then she took it out of the storage ring. After glancing slightly, Suzanne's expression suddenly froze, and he blurted out subconsciously, why is this thing here with you? 3. Days ago, Sister JR disturbed you while you were sleeping, and you smashed the door with it. I thought it was not a treasure, so I put it away. Xian Ringsu explained slowly, looking at Suzanne with a very helpless expression. She didn't even keep such a precious thing properly. Suzanne, no wonder it went so smoothly that day. I finally found the reason, asking for monthly ticket. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 163 Bibidang. Are you related to the Supreme Being? The auction time is getting closer and closer, and the news of the 100,000-year soul beast sweeps through the two empires like a tornado. Even within the Star Luo Empire, there are widespread rumors about the 100,000-year soul beast. The Star Luo Empire even specially sent a mission here for friendly exchanges. One can imagine how precious and coveted the 100,000-year soul beast is. Suzanne is also arranging the auction. This auction can be regarded as advertising for the entertainment city, so he is also very concerned about it. To this end, he specially invited his cousin Zhu Bingning to come over and take charge of the overall situation. Then, he would be responsible for some detailed control point in the back garden. Suzanne was teaching Xian Ringsu how to use a Huawei mobile phone, planning to play a gun battle game in another world. What on earth is this thing made of? And there are actually moving characters inside. Qiuyushu's eyes were full of curiosity and shimmering. Xian Ringsu looked at the pink phone in her hand, as if her worldview had been refreshed. Hey, the secret must not be revealed. Suzanne smiled slightly, but he didn't dare to talk nonsense, otherwise he wouldn't be able to explain it. After all, he only knew how to use this thing. This Huawei mobile phone was a flash sale for him. He probably bought tens of thousands of units, and he spent a total of 1 gold coin. Among them, Suzanne had asked Ling Linky mobile phone name to clear away all the matters regarding the earth. Otherwise, if Xian Ringsu suddenly opens the book Douluo, the problem will really arise. Come on, I'll tell you how to use it. You just need to press it lightly with your finger. It has various functions. You see, this is a camera. It can be used to take pictures. It's like a mirror. It can record your current appearance. There is also this. This is questions. You can use it for chatting. It has very complete functions. Stop. First, let me try it myself. Seeing Suzanne chattering endlessly in her ear, Xian Ringsu was a little impatient. Driven by curiosity, she grabbed the phone directly. Okay, then try it yourself. You know the words above anyway. Suzanne shrugged, then took out a mobile phone and started playing around with the internet. That's right, network. A mobile phone without network is no different from a brick. Therefore, Suzanne asked Ling Linky to share the network so that anyone in the house could connect to the network. Of course, the network from the earth. Boom. Just when Suzanne was about to log into his questions, a sudden sound startled him. A dull explosion sounded, and then the smoke dispersed. Looking at the mobile phone in Xian Ringsu's hand, the corners of Suzanne's mouth kept twitching. I didn't expect it to poke so hard. Xian Ringsu looked at Suzanne pitifully, with a blush on her pretty face. Xian Ringsu explained weakly. Suzanne, I still have one here. Remember to use less strength. Suzanne took out another one, and Xian Ringsu couldn't help but remind him as he held it tightly, so that Xian Ringsu couldn't take it directly. He has 10,000 Huawei mobile phones, which is only 10,000 units in total. He can't afford to be so spendthrift. Support domestic products. Start with novels. When mobile phone factories and signal base stations are established, let alone poking hard, you can hit people with bricks without any problem. Nodding honestly and awkwardly, Xian Ringsu took the phone and started tinkering again. But this time, she was obviously a lot more careful. She didn't dare to poke hard, but only touched lightly. Suzanne was immediately relieved. Just as he was about to play with his phone, a red light suddenly flashed away from the soles of his feet. Titled Douluo again. Seeing the formation glowing red again, just like Sword Douluo last time, Suzanne's brows suddenly furrowed. Swish. Immediately, 2 more headlights lit up. Seeing this scene, Suzanne was suddenly stunned. I go. 3 titled Douluo came all at once. I originally thought it was old poison or sword Douluo, but now it seems that it is not the case at all. There are 3 titled Douluo. Is it the Wuhan Palace or the unborn Haitian sect? At this thought, Suzanne frowned even deeper. You can play here by yourself. I'm going to entertain the guests. After waving to Xian Ringsu, Suzanne left. Xian Ringsu also waved her hand, as if nothing had happened. She didn't seem to be worried about Suzanne at all, and was thinking her own business with her phone, which made the latter feel helpless in the front yard. 3 figures came slowly, as if they were entering a no man's land. The servants in the mansion and even the royal guards were trembling, and no one dared to stop them. The leader was a woman, wearing a long golden dress, with a 9 curved purple gold crown on her head, and holding a scepter about 2 meters long, and inlaid with countless gems. Behind the woman were 2 people, one of whom was wearing a black robe and a mask. Their figures were ethereal and real, and their true appearance could not be seen clearly. The other person was wearing a dark gold dress, with thick black eyeshadow and lip color, and looked a little uncomfortable, especially the yin and yang gestures and postures. If he were dressed in women's clothes, there would be no conflict. Why does His Majesty the Pope have time to come to my place today? Seeing that it was Bibi Dong and the others, Suzanne walked up quickly and said hello with a smile on his lips. I want to talk to you about something, so go to your study. Bibi Dong said without any doubt, with excitement suppressed under her cold expression. Okay. Noticing Bibi Dong's expression, Suzanne felt a chill in her heart, and then agreed. Although he was calm on the outside, Suzanne was in a turmoil inside. Judging from Bibi Dong's excitement expression, it didn't seem like she was here for the 100,000-year-old soul beast, but rather something else. In particular, there seemed to be a sense of warmth in that indifference, which made it difficult for Suzanne to understand. After taking Bibi Dong to the study, Bibi Dong did not let Gui Douluo and the 2 come in, as if he left them outside the door. Looking mysterious. Wow. Bibi Dong waved his hand, and a black energy instantly enveloped the 2 of them, cutting off all surrounding perception. Seeing this scene, Suzanne was confused again, not knowing what the mother-in-law was going to do. Where is your teacher now? Looking at Suzanne with extremely excited emotions, Bibi Dong's eyes were full of eyes, as if she was shy like a little girl, and she asked excitedly, there is JQ. There is definitely JQ. Seeing Bibi Dong like this, Suzanne suddenly became alert, but after thinking about it, she felt something was wrong. The Supreme Being is pretending to be the Supreme Being himself. Why is Bibi Dong so excited asking the Supreme Being? After all, with her strength and status, apart from becoming a god, there is nothing else worthy of her. His Majesty the Pope, can you tell me why you came to see my teacher? Suzanne asked warily. Tell me where he is first. Bibi Dong gritted her teeth and seemed to be extremely excited. Note 1. This book has a single heroine, so don't get carried away. After reading this chapter 2. Today Hidden Emperor 10,000 rewards has been updated 3 times, and there will be a total of 3 updates including additional updates. If there are only 2 updates, the last update will be made up in the middle of the night. Chapter 164 Papal Decree, Brain Burning Problem. His Majesty the Pope, Teacher, he has traveled far and wide, but he should come back after the auction. Seeing the strange look on his mother-in-law's face, Suzanne became more and more suspicious, and his intuition told him that there must be something wrong. In fact, Bibi Dong seemed to know the Supreme Being. As soon as the idea came up, Suzanne immediately rejected his judgment. His Taishang's face had only appeared once 3 days ago. He had never seen Bibi Dong at all, unless, suddenly, Suzanne seemed to have thought of something. Her heart trembled suddenly, and her expression became weirder. Traveling around. Hearing this, Bibi Dong frowned slightly, then nodded subconsciously, and relaxed her frown. But why didn't you come to see me when you came back? Suddenly, feeling a little sad in her heart, Bibi Dong let out a long sigh. That noble and cold figure seemed a little lonely. Seeing Bibi Dong's resentful and angry look, Suzanne was immediately speechless. You are the Pope after all. Can you please pay more attention to it? And I'm still your daughter's husband. Fortunately Zuo wasn't here, otherwise he wouldn't be able to wash himself off, even if he jumped into the yellow river. Ahem. Seemingly realizing that she had lost her composure, Bibi Dong returned to her original cold and noble appearance, with an elegant and charming face that was neither happy nor angry. If he comes back, remember to notify me as soon as possible. Bibi Dong reminded her coldly, staring at Suzanne. The voice was like an ice knife, without any emotion, so cold that people couldn't refuse at all. Aha. Hearing this, Suzanne nodded immediately. He also wanted to know what was going on. But looking at Bibi Dong's appearance, I probably wouldn't tell him if I asked him. Alas, after closing the black energy barrier, Bibi Dong was about to leave, but suddenly stopped. Aha. A black token was thrown out, and Bibi Dong's cold voice sounded again. This is the token of Wuhan Palace. If anything happens, you can go to Wuhan Palace for help. Looking at the Wuhan Palace token in his hand, Suzanne was also stunned, looking a little unbelievable. The token only has 5 patterns, only one pattern compared to the title Douluo Elder token of Wuhan Palace, but the difference is that this token is inlaid with gold wire, which makes it look more noble and luxurious. Papal decree. Seeing that Bibi Dong actually gave this thing to him, Suzanne was surprised and stunned. When he came to his senses, Bibi Dong had already left. No, what's going on? Suzanne felt dizzy and confused. Obviously, Bibi Dong knew the Supreme Being very well, and he did not believe that Xian Rinxu gave him the papal decree. In order to distinguish the tokens issued by the Pope and the Bishop, Wuhan Palace has specially set up slightly different papal decrees. The 5 patterns are the 5th level papal decree. To a certain extent, this token can even mobilize title Douluo. Of course, it is useless under normal circumstances. For example, with Suzanne's identity, if he used the token to command Ghost Douluo, the latter would definitely not tolerate him. However, this does not mean that tokens are useless with this papal token. He can even order the Platinum Bishop of Wuhan Palace to do things for him. The other party must obey unconditionally, otherwise it will be regarded as disobeying the papal order. Weird. So weird. Putting the token away, Suzanne returned to the back garden with a confused face. Seeing Xian Rinxu still playing with her phone, Suzanne walked over quickly and reminded her weakly, "My mother-in-law was here just now." As soon as the words came out, Xian Rinxu's curious and excited expression suddenly froze. What is she doing here? Xian Rinxu frowned, her tone revealing a hint of worry. I don't know. She came to ask about the Supreme Being. I feel like my mother-in-law knows the Supreme Being. Do you think it's weird or not? Suzanne shook his head and sighed. He still feels incredible. Hearing what Suzanne said, Xian Rinxu's face was full of astonishment, and then she shook her head and said, I basically don't know much about her, but in my memory, I have never heard anyone say that a person like Taishang exists. If there was, you would have told me that day. Suzanne couldn't help but nodded. Xian Rinxu obviously didn't know about the existence of this person, correct? Suddenly, Xian Rinxu seemed to have thought of something, and her eyes suddenly lit up. I heard my grandfather say that there seems to be a powerful person in the mainland who can't defeat him even with all his strength. He may even be a god. Looking at Suzanne with gentle eyes, Xian Rinxu's tone became weaker and weaker, and her expression became more and more weird. He's not talking about the Supreme Being, is he? After saying each word, Xian Rinxu looked at Suzanne in bewilderment. After saying this, she felt like the world was spinning, and she was also confused. Your Majesty, wasn't Suzanne just pretending to be someone a few days ago? Could it be possible that this person really existed before? If he knew that this guy was pretending to be his identity, then, alas, Suzanne naturally didn't know what Xian Rinxu was thinking. Instead, he sighed to himself. He seemed to understand. Apart from myself, who else could there be in this world that Xian Douluo couldn't defeat? Really a god? Nonsense. What's the point of fighting a Shinzo with his head exposed and Sendo Liu? He doesn't want to hang out in the god realm anymore. In other words, He feels very proud of beating an extreme Douluo. As for Tang Chen, even more nonsense. The strength of the two of them is more comparable to that of equals, and Kai and Douluo will not say that they cannot beat each other. Point after all, you once snatched the same girl. Would you admit that you are inferior to your love rival? To sum up, Suzanne can basically conclude that that guy is him. Point well. I'm the only one who can defeat Kai and Douluo and still not kill him. Point his brain burning. Noticing that Suzanne's expression was strange and uncomfortable, Kai Mingsu's lips twitched slightly, and she subconsciously blurted out, "Are you the supreme being, Su?" Xian's face darkened. The baby doesn't want to talk. The baby just wants to be quiet. PFFT. I'm just teasing you. Seeing that Suzanne actually took it seriously, Kai Mingsu was immediately happy, with a smile on her face, and she quickly waved her hand. "I was joking with you just now. That was more than 20 years ago. How old are you this year?" A smile emerged from the corners of her mouth, and Suzanne nodded with a smile, as if nothing had happened, but she knew it all too well in her heart. "Aren't you going to play some game with me? Just teach me now." Kai Mingsu handed the phone over, and combined with the manual, she had basically mastered the use of the phone. At first she thought it would be difficult, but she didn't expect it to be just that good. Hearing this, a knowing smile suddenly appeared on Suzanne's face, and he threw all the things in his heart out of mind. It's a blessing, not a curse. It's a curse that can't be avoided. Why is he worrying so much? You will eventually know it later. If I write a game later, there will be a flood, and you guys will fight against it. Chapter 165 Auction List. Women's Tricks. Douluo continent. Point on a desert island. Two brave agents cleaned up the enemies on the battlefield. In the brutal fight, they begged for the right to live. Point L City, an inconspicuous small town. Point seeing Xue start to charge, Suzanne became anxious and shouted quickly, "Xue, get out of the way, I'm about to launch." I saw a swarthy African looking man wearing rocket girl clothes. He was holding a rocket launcher. The target was already aimed at the enemy in the second story building, and he was just about to pull the trigger to launch. "You fight first, and then I charge," Kai Mingsu shouted seriously, looking like a battlefield commander. "My wife has a destiny, I dare not disobey." "Got the order, Su." Xian fired directly at the two-story building, and there was a booming explosion. Seeing the enemies fall one by one, and finally retracted into the small building, Suzanne was immediately happy. "Xue, throw a grenade into the window and kill them," Suzanne reminded, but without another word, Kai Mingsu started directly. "What is a grenade?" His movement suddenly froze. On the big bed, Kai Mingsu looked at Suzanne with a blank expression. Point Suzanne, damn it. I've taken off my pants and you're telling me you don't know about grenades. There is something that looks like a ball in the frame on the left side of your gun. Throw it in. Suddenly, feeling very tired, Suzanne started to explain to Kai Mingsu while suppressing it with firepower. Hearing this, Kai Mingsu opened the throwing object frame and saw a pot and a tube-like thing inside. Her eyes were fixed on the round grenade. Point without saying a word, Kai Mingsu took out the grenade and threw it towards the house. Bang! There was a slight impact, and the grenade fell in a perfect arc. Suzanne. Boom. With a loud noise, the little fairy character Kai Mingsu successfully fell to the ground. Suzanne, on the big bed, Kai Mingsu blinked her big eyes, looking at Suzanne with dissatisfaction and disbelief on her cute little face. "How can this thing be able to blow up my own?" "Suzanne, if it doesn't blow you up, we are cheating." "Alas, just wait. I'll rescue you right away." With a long sigh, Suzanne fired two more rocket launchers into the hut. Taking advantage of their opportunity to rescue their teammates, Suzanne hurriedly ran towards Kai Mingsu. 10 seconds later, seeing the three people licking their boxes on the blackened interface, Suzanne's face suddenly darkened. PFFT, did you just blow yourself up? Kai Mingsu burst out laughing, beaming with joy. Suzanne's face turned darker, and he had the urge to curse from the bottom of his heart. This damn rocket launcher is so slippery. Bang! At this moment, the door was pushed open, and a gentle figure appeared. "I heard the two of you from so far away. Xue, what are you happy about? Why don't you share it, so that I can be happy too?" The Graceful Xue Qinghe walked in slowly. Her every move seemed to exude the elegance that a royal noble should have, and even the smile on her face was so pleasing to the eye. No, I was playing a game with him. He just blew himself up. As she spoke, Xian Rinxu couldn't help but laugh again. Jianshu's eyes were sparkling and seemed to contain infinite joy. You have the nerve to tell me who blew yourself up just now? If I hadn't saved you, would I have died? Gritting her teeth, Suzanne rushed over and kneaded Xian Rinxu's little face, looking unhappy. It hurts. Let go quickly. With a rosy face and a jewel-like sheen, Xian Rinxu held onto Suzanne's arm, trying to remove the palm that was teasing her. Xue Qinghe sighed helplessly. I said, you guys flirt all day long. Can't you consider my feelings? Ahem. Hearing these resentful words, Suzanne and Xian Rinxu stopped immediately, and their faces turned red and embarrassed. Suzanne stood up from the bed, came over and sat down. Sister, did something go wrong at the auction? The affairs of the auction are now fully handed over to Xue Qinghe. She has taken care of the spirit fighting arena in an orderly manner, so this matter is nothing to her. The auction has been prepared, and I have also sent invitations to all the major forces. Now, I'm here to ask what your teacher wants to auction. If you make a list and explain it, the auctioneer will be better prepared. Xue Qinghe replied. As for the auction of things, the outside world blamed teacher Suzanne's Taishang, thinking that it was the old man who wanted to auction things, but no one suspected that it was Suzanne who wanted to auction things after all. 100,000-year beast soul is not something that ordinary people can obtain. Oh, that's it. I'll just write down a list later. Unexpectedly, Suzanne waved his hand nonchalantly. He already knew what items would be auctioned. You should write it down first. I'm afraid you'll forget. Xue Qinghe reminded. Suzanne, am I so unreliable? Seeing Xue Qinghe's serious expression, Suzanne didn't refute and just played the game. Maybe he would forget about it immediately. Suzanne picked up the pen and paper from the side and started writing. First of all, the Jade Phosphorus Snake Emperor Soul Bone, Kilo Tulip, the 100,000-year Soul Beast. These 3 types of big players are a must. This is a business worth hundreds of millions. Then 3 more soul bones, some more soul guides to be auctioned, and then some more techniques for the soul master to practice in the city. You can also get some ability mutation potions. Finally, I also got some aircrafts out. Since scarcity is more valuable, let's use them as appetizers. If you don't take advantage of this moment to blackmail yourself, it will be completely worthless when the fiefdom develops in the future. That's right. Suzanne did not listen to Emperor Xue and hide the soul tool this time, but chose to auction it openly. It is impossible to research this thing in a short time. As for the future, there is no need to worry about the authority of the Xiandao Empire's royal family. After all, the continent may be unified by then. Of course, he would not foolishly auction off level 9 or 10 custom-made soul-guided artillery shells, which are just weapons with increased power. Looking at most of the things above, she didn't recognize them, and Xue Qinghe didn't ask, because Suzanne had already started writing simple notes. When the auction starts, I will give her more detailed notes. Now let her have an idea first, Suzanne said, handing the written list to Xue Qinghe. Well, I already know it in my heart. Qinghe nodded and replied. Suzanne's expression condensed. I forgot to mention, I'm the auctioneer of this auction. Xue Qinghe stuck out her tongue with a smile. A cunning look flashed in her eyes. Suzanne, I think you're not here to ask about the list, but you're here to trick me in advance, so you can get inside information, right? Suzanne said angrily. Is there any difference? Xue Qinghe blinked her big eyes and said innocently. No difference. You win. Chapter 166 Imperial College Challenge. Additional update 4. Suzanne and the others no longer need to publicize the auction. There is probably no one in Xiandao City who doesn't know about the auction of the 100,000-year soul beast. As for the entire Xiandao City, there is probably no time that is more lively than this time, not even for the Soul Master competition that is held every 5 years. At this moment, the Soul Masters scattered all over the place are also gathering in Xiandao City, wanting to catch a glimpse of the 100,000-year-old beast soul. Suzanne also saw the changes in the city, but he was still at home with Xian Rinxu as usual. Of course, He also urged Qian Rinxu to practice. After all, he didn't want to cripple Qian Rinxu point more, and more people are coming to Xiandao City, and more people are stirring up trouble, such as the envoys from the Star Luo Empire. Although large-scale wars will not occur between the two empires, small-scale conflicts will still occur, especially since Zulin was cheated last time. The old guy held a grudge. This time he brought the team with him, and he definitely had bad intentions. No, as soon as I arrived in Xiandao City, I started working with the Royal Academy team, euphemistically called it a discussion and exchange point then. It was terrible. In a 7-on-7 team battle, you have 5 soul sects, and you still have martial soul fusion skills. You are still a level 48 blue electric Tyrannosaurus martial soul fighting soul sect, so you lose like this. In the carriage, Suzanne looked at Yu Xianmin in disbelief, as if he felt he was joking. Damn it. I lost all the main selections, and now you want to bring me on as a substitute. Is this something human beings do? There's nothing I can do. The opponent is too strong. Otherwise, do you think I would be embarrassed and beg you? You. Xianmin replied helplessly, with a mixture of unwillingness, anger, embarrassment, and discomfort on her pale face, which finally turned into a weak sigh. Tell me, how did you lose? Suzanne couldn't help but ask with a cold look in his eyes. Although he usually doesn't like to take care of things, not just anyone can step on the royal family point, especially since the other party is from the Star Luo Empire. Everyone is responsible for the battle between empires. There are also people in the Star Luo Empire team who know the martial soul fusion technique, and it is performed by 2 soul sects. It is too powerful. Not only that, they also have a level 47 soul sect, which is very powerful, and we can't defeat it at all. As he said this, Yu Xianmin gritted his teeth and his red face was filled with unwillingness. Originally, they were going to use Wuhan Palace as their opponent, but they didn't expect that they would be defeated by the Star Luo Empire's team before the Soul Master competition even started. If they fail to win a battle, the morale of the team will be severely damaged. If not for this, Yu Xianmin would not let Suzanne come to the rescue. The martial soul fusion skill is the martial soul fusion skill of the royal family and the ZHU family. Suzanne's brows suddenly wrinkled, but as soon as the words came out, he thought it was impossible. Davis is not as powerful as the soul sect at all, and the royal succession rules of the Star Luo Empire are very strict. The royal family only survives in a single lineage, and there are no such thing as brothers. It is indeed the martial soul fusion technique of the royal family and the ZHU family, otherwise we would not be without the power to fight back. Just when Suzanne was confused, Yu Xianmin's voice sounded, and his words were full of bitterness. As soon as the words came out, Suzanne's frown deepened. Davis is less than 10 years old, isn't he? Where did he get the martial soul fusion skill? It's not Davis, but a man in his 20s named Dai Yuheng. I heard he is the younger brother of Emperor Xianao. I have never heard of this person before. You. Xianmin quickly shook his head and explained, with a look of surprise flashing in his eyes. It was precisely because they knew that Xingluo team did not have martial soul fusion skills that they ignored Xingluo team. Unexpectedly, the opponent caught them off guard. Dai Yuheng, never heard of it. Alas, it's probably because the author has started creating people again. Forget it. Let's talk about it when we get to the scene. Xian couldn't figure it out and didn't bother to think about it. He would wait until he got to the Royal Academy. They were showing off their power anyway and wouldn't run away in despair. Xiandao Empire Royal Academy, central martial arts training ground point under the stage. In the long VIP seats, sat dignitaries and high-level soul masters from the two empires. On one side is the Xingluo Empire Exchange Group headed by Zulin, and on the other side is the Royal Academy Education Committee and teachers headed by Zuan Point. Xiandao Imperial Academy vs Star Luo Imperial Academy. There were long red strips hanging on the soul fighting platform, which smelled full of gunpowder, but for the Xiandao Empire, it was so dazzling at this moment. Old man Zhu, your strongest team in the Xiandao Empire has already lost, and it's been so miserable. What else do you have to say? With a proud smile on his face, Zulin raised the corners of his mouth slightly and said, there's nothing to say about this. Our royal team is just conserving its strength. Unlike your Star Luo Empire, all the main forces have come out before the Soul Master competition has even started. As soon as these words came out, Xuan, as the deputy dean, felt uncomfortable, but if he got angry, he would be playing into Zulin's hands. Therefore, Xuan still looked calm on the outside, with a disdainful tone, and seemed to be very open-minded about winning or losing this time. Oh, you mean, your Xian Dao team still has a trump card? Unexpectedly, Xuan was so stubborn. Zulin laughed, the look of disdain on his face getting even worse. He knew that these 7 people were the main team members. That's natural. Xuan smiled slightly, with a confident face, which made Zulin frown slightly. Lin sneered twice, pondered for a moment, and then waved his hand magnanimously. In that case, don't blame me for not giving you a chance. Let's challenge one-on-one. If your Royal Academy team can defeat them, we will lose. What do you think? With majestic tiger eyes, Zulin stared at Xuan, and his old face was domineering, as if a tiger was roaring. Hearing this, Xuan suddenly became happy. That's what you said. Don't cry later if you lose. HMPH. It's better to take care of yourself. A student from the Imperial Academy of the Heavenly Dao Empire is so vulnerable. Zulin snorted coldly and said mockingly, you. As soon as these words came out, Meng Shenji and the other education committee members and teachers immediately became angry. Their faces turned red, and they glared at Zulin. MMP. This is a naked slap in their face. However, seeing 2 people in a row being defeated by members of the Star Luo Empire, the faces of Meng Shenji and others could not be darker. Don't be impatient. I've asked you Xian Min to call King. Seeing the furious looks of Meng Shenji and others, Xuan waved his hand and sent a message to remind, while wondering why Suzanne hadn't come yet. However, Xuan's expression was still as calm as before, and she managed to maintain that demeanor that would not change, even if the mountain collapsed. Are you really sure that His Highness can win? Meng Shenji asked guiltily. King fought with you Xian Min, but Xian Min lost in the end. Xuan replied calmly, you're not talking about that time, are you? Meng Shenji's old face darkened, obviously recalling a bad experience. No. Xuan shook his head. Meng Shenji. The 6th update is over, and I collapsed chapter 167. If I can't beat you to death, I'll beat the shit out of you. Old man Zhu, you have already lost 2 people in a row. There is no point in continuing to fight like this. It's better to admit defeat. Seeing Dai Yuheng defeating 2 members of the Royal Dao team in succession, Zulin's face burst into laughter. He glanced at Xuan subconsciously and mocked. Why are you so anxious? Just keep reading. Xuan Yundan Feng shook his head gently. Zulin wanted to drag him out and beat him up point pack, then pretend it for me. You. Heng, just 1 versus 3 will do. Give the Royal Academy some face, so they won't be too embarrassed. Looking at the young man on the stage, Zulin reminded him with a smile. His smile was full of contempt and ridicule, which made everyone in the Royal Academy want to attack him. 1 versus 3. If they were really defeated by the opponent, the Xian Dao Empire Royal Academy would be completely disgraced. Uncle Zhu, don't worry, I will save face for them. On the soul fighting stage, a young man held his head high and looked at the remaining 4 defeated soldiers of the Imperial fighting team, his brows full of pride. The man has long golden hair that hangs down to almost his waist, making him look like a lion. The most eye-catching thing is his pair of evil eyes. Both eyes have twin pupils. When the dark blue eyes are half open and closed, a cold evil light flickers, which makes people shudder. Dai Yuheng is the captain of the Star Luo Empire Royal Academy team and the younger brother of Emperor Xian Dao. It stands to reason that the royal family would not allow 2 brothers to survive at the same time, but there is an exception, and that is a huge age difference that prevents them from fighting each other for royal rights. This was the case for Dai Yuheng. As the son of the former emperor, he was only a few years old when Emperor Xian Dao succeeded him. There was no struggle for power at all, so he survived. Who among the 4 of you will come up to challenge? Looking at the 4 members of the Imperial fighting team, Dai Yuheng raised the corners of his mouth slightly and seemed to be confident. As a level 45 attack type fighting soul sect, he is not afraid of anyone when fighting alone. Even if Yu Xian Min comes, He will not be afraid. After all, Xian Min had resisted their martial soul fusion skills in the team battle just now, and now he was more seriously damaged than them. And his combat power was probably even less than 10%. Seeing Dai Yuheng being so arrogant, the 4 members of Huang Dao team were furious, but their physical condition at the moment was really not optimistic. Special code, why are you so arrogant? I will understand you. Unable to bear the bullying from the Star Luo Empire, one of the 4, a big man from the Iron Tower, immediately stood up and was about to rush forward, but was held tightly by the other 2. Mad Bull, don't be impulsive. Let's wait until the captain comes back. The person who spoke was a handsome man, wearing white clothes, with long silver hair that looked very weird and dazzling. Leng Rulin, a member of the Imperial Fighting Team, the martial spirit Frostthorn, a level 42 control spirit sect. Mad Bull, you can no longer fight in your current condition. Another slender man also warned, firmly holding Mad Bull's arm. To prevent him from playing point, the man's flowing blonde hair was tilted back, and his body looked a little frail, but his body was lean and powerful. Chafeng, martial soul hunting shadow leopard, level 41 agility attack type fighting soul sect. As for the remaining woman, she was holding a multicolored gemstone in her hand, and the soul rings on the soles of her feet were shining. The colored light echoed on the 3 of them, and she seemed to be providing treatment to them. Damn it, even if I risk my life, I still can't see them being so arrogant. The dark-skinned Mad Bull said angrily. His eyes seemed to be stained with blood, so bright that it made people tremble all over. 2 team members have already been seriously injured and have gone to treatment. They are just trying to survive here, so they might as well give them a few punches to truly avenge them. Who dares to be so arrogant in our Royal Academy? At this moment, a loud shout suddenly rang out. Aha! The crowd dispersed subconsciously, only to see a young man wearing luxurious gold silk white clothes walking over. Next to him, there was also a tall and elegant woman with a waist and hips. The woman is none other than Xian Min. Seeing Suzanne's arrival, Xuan suddenly became excited, waved her hands quickly and laughed. King, they have set up a ring here. You go up and have some fun. Don't beat anyone to death. This is the art of language. As long as you don't hit anyone, it doesn't matter if you get seriously injured or anything. Suzanne waved his hand nonchalantly. Don't worry, I definitely can't beat him to death. The most I can do is beat the shit out of him and then beat him into the shit. PFFT. As soon as these words came out, everyone present immediately became happy. They did not expect that the eldest prince would actually say such vulgar words. However, the words are rough and the reason is not rough. Xuan couldn't help but shook his head and couldn't help but hope that Suzanne's Heng would do what he said. That would be interesting. Who are you? Looking at Suzanne, Dai Yuheng's eyes were as cold as ice and he gritted his teeth and shouted, it's just a substitute for the Imperial fighter team. It's nothing. Xian waved his hand, then jumped to the ring, hooked his fingers at Dai Yuheng, and said provocatively, come on, let's fight quickly. I'm in a hurry to go home for dinner later, and I don't have time to mess around with you here. Satire. Naked irony. His face was twisted with anger, looking ferocious like a bloodthirsty beast. Dai Yuheng clenched his fists tightly, and his eyes were cold. If looks could kill, Suzanne would have died countless times at this moment. Have a meal. Nonsense. What do you think our Star Luo Empire Royal Academy teamies? You. Heng, he is the eldest prince of the Xiandao Empire. He is not an easy master to deal with. Calm down to avoid falling into the opponent's trap. Seeing that Dai Yuheng was irritated, Zulin frowned slightly and quickly sent a message to remind him. The eldest prince, hearing this, Dai Yuheng also frowned. He didn't expect that the other party had such a high status, but then he relaxed his brows. So what if he is the eldest prince, as long as he is neither dead nor disabled? After all, this is a soul battle. Boss, can the eldest prince do it? Seeing that Xian Min actually went to call Suzanne over, Leng Rulin's mouth twitched slightly in disbelief. Kuang and Yu and Zhu Feng were also staring at her. The eldest prince is only 14 years old now. They all think they are gilding him by making him a substitute. Now let him play. What's going on? Just watch. Maybe after today, I won't be your captain. You. Xian Min smiled mysteriously. Her alluring face was full of confidence, and her jewel-like eyes stared blankly at Suzanne. She knew he wouldn't disappoint them. Captain, what do you mean? After hearing these vague words, Madin Yu asked confusedly. As for Leng Rulin and Zhu Feng on the side, their expressions changed drastically, and they looked at Suzanne in disbelief. Chapter 168 Weird Speed, Ultimate Attack. On the soul fighting stage, two figures stood tall and faced each other. Everyone around them held their breath and watched the battle quietly. Seeing Dai Yuheng still staring blankly, Suzanne waved angrily. Come on, what are you doing standing around? Didn't you hear that I'm still in a hurry to go home for dinner? Shameless words. Dai Yuheng roared, and a strong pale light suddenly burst out from his body. I saw his arms stretching to both sides at the same time, forming a straight cross. His chest stood up, his bones crackled like exploding beans, and his muscles suddenly swelled and exploded, making the clothes on his body tight. Her blonde hair also turned into black and white, and a king pattern appeared on her forehead. As his fingers flicked, dagger-like sharp claws protruded from his palms, and the cold light was threatening. White Tiger Martial Spirit, the Royal Martial Spirit of the Star Luo Empire, the top beast martial spirit point. If it was Uwuji and the others, at the same level, even if they had the advantage in the sky, they would not be Dai Yuheng's opponent. This is the innate difference between martial spirits. However, Suzanne is different. The same white light burst out from the body. Unlike Dai Yuheng's pure white light, the white light bursting out of Suzanne's body actually had a faint golden color. Suzanne curled up slightly forward. Golden light surged behind Suzanne, as if something was about to peek out. Aha. There was a slight swishing sound that cut through the air. When he went to rub the paper, he saw a line of pale golden wings extending from Suzanne's back point. Although there are still white feathers mixed in, the golden color still dominates the view. The originally smooth and compact feathers were now as tight as scales, and the feathers on the edges shone with golden light, giving off a sharp metallic sheen. Looking at the wings on Suzanne's back, not only Zulin, but also Zuan frowned. This is Swan Martial Spirit? With so many people surrounding him, Suzanne naturally wouldn't let himself get bored and release his soul ring. Once the 100,000-year soul ring appears, it must blind their eyes. I see that there is not much soul power left in your body, so I'll send you off. The figure flew up to the sky in an instant, as if intermittently. Suzanne was still 10 meters away, but when the figure appeared again, it was already 20 meters away, as if Suzanne was invisible in the 10 meters in the middle. This noticing Suzanne's astonishing speed, Zuan was also startled and a little horrified. The sharp-tailed swift martial spirit is considered to be the fastest flying bad martial spirit in the mainland, but at the same level, Suzanne's speed just now was actually comparable to it. Horror. It's incredible. Old man Zhu, is this your swan martial spirit? Noticing the cyan lightning on Suzanne's wings and the weird speed, Zulin twitched the corner of his mouth and blurted out subconsciously. Such an agile speed can even compete with the speed of a bird soul emperor. What the hell is this swan martial soul? Haha. King naturally has his own merits, Zhu, and waved his hand nonchalantly, but his cloudy eyes flashed with light. No wonder people like Taishang take a fancy to him. It turns out it's not without reason. At such a speed, he is already invincible at the same level. The audience were also shocked. Xian Min raised the corners of his mouth slightly, as if a good show was going on. She was defeated like this in the beginning. Now, it's your turn to see his terror. Dai Yuheng's expression also became serious, and a burst of white light suddenly burst out from his mouth. Seeing the white light ball coming towards him, Suzanne moved his wings slightly and avoided it. Swish. The figure circled slightly for a few times, and the golden shadow shot straight down. Suzanne's wings were slowly folded, and his body formed a straight line. It was like a meteorite falling. The speed was astonishingly fast, and everyone's eyes couldn't catch it. Startled by Suzanne's weird speed, Dai Yuheng's heart suddenly trembled, and the third soul ring on the sole of his foot suddenly activated the 1000-year soul skill. Different from Damu Bei's White Tiger Vajra transformation, De Yuhang's third skill is a defensive route, which is somewhat similar to the former's White Tiger body shield point boom. Intense golden light shot out, and a golden defensive shield enveloped De Yuhang. Suzan didn't pay attention to this. The golden light on his arm flashed, and the dark golden claws popped out, as if a goshawk had opened its claws. The cold light was eerie and terrifying. In an instant, the two figures collided directly, and the golden shield collapsed at the first touch. Immediately, De Yuhang's voice was knocked out, blood fell from the sky, and dripping blood splashed all over the ground. Boom. With a dull roar, De Yuhang fell heavily under the ring, and blood immediately flowed out. I saw a huge gash on his left shoulder, and the bones were exposed among the blood, which looked really scary. Heng Captain, seeing this scene, Zulin and others were shocked, and ran over quickly. Someone, heal me quickly. Looking at the bright red wound, De Yuheng's left shoulder seemed to be broken and falling off. Zulin suddenly roared, and then two auxiliary Soul Emperors stood up immediately. Don't worry, I held back just now, otherwise he would have died long ago. After wiping the blood on his hands, Suzanne still felt a little disgusted and nauseated for some reason. Hearing this, Zulin was furious, but Ke couldn't refute point. Just as Suzanne said, if he hadn't bent the dark gold Terra Claw at the end, De Yuheng's arm would have been cut off directly. Dark gold Terra Claw metacarpal bone, although he did not use any soul skills, but the dark gold Terra Claw soul bone in normal condition is equally terrifying, and its tearing power is absolutely unrivaled. Moreover, Suzanne did not choose to attack the body's vital points, otherwise De Yuheng would have died by now. De Yuheng was sent down for treatment. Zulin's face was as gloomy as water. He sat on the VIP table again, and felt a dull pain in his chest. I said, old man Zhu, you just lost one person. No wonder you vomited blood last time. It turns out your mental endurance is so low. Glancing slightly at the uncomfortable Zulin, Zuin raised the corner of his mouth and stabbed him again. Zulin gritted his teeth and was furious. His throat felt sweet, and he finally swallowed it. Looking at the remaining 6 members of Team Xingluo, Suzanne waved happily, as if he was hitting a primary school student. Come on, any of you are coming up next. I'm in a hurry. The 6 members of Xingluo team gritted their teeth and stared at Suzanne, with bloodshot eyes spreading, wishing they could pull out their bones to avenge De Yuheng. Wait, let me come. Suddenly, a black figure jumped up and landed on the soul fighting platform with a rumble, causing the ground to shake. Vice Captain of Xingluo team, Wan Wudi, please give me some advice. Please. Vote for me, give me rewards, subscribe, rich lady. Chapter 169 Blood Demon Ape, Gravity Superposition. In front of him, a burly man stood proudly. His skin was like black ink, and his strong chest muscles held up his clothes. His abdominal muscles could even be seen through his clothes. What's even more shocking is that his arms are long and thick, and the bursting muscles are jaw-dropping. He leans forward slightly, so that the big man can maintain his balance. With these arms, the well-developed muscles on the big man's chest are a bit underwhelming. It seems that the former is where his terrorize one punch is enough to crack mountains and crack rocks. Even if it is just a slight scratch, even the strongest man will wail and cry bitterly. Are you from the Wan family? Suzanne asked curiously, raising an eyebrow. The son of Wan Yan of the Wan family. Wan Wudi roared, a determined domineering energy bursting out of his body. I saw that Wan Wudi had an evil look on his face. With his black skin, he looked like a ferocious ghost crawling out of hell. His eyes were like copper bells. Even a tiger would be scared when he saw him. The Wan family, one of the dukes of the Star Luo Empire, has been a general for generations, and is a sole family of the army. Hundreds of years ago, the Star Luo Empire and the Shandao Empire were at the stage of attacking each other, and the Shandao Empire was defeated at the hands of the Wan family 9 out of 10 times. He is familiar with history, and has a particularly deep memory of the Wan family. Not only that, Zhu Wuji's target is the Wan family. I've heard about the Wan family's blood demon ape martial spirit for a long time, and it looks like I can see it today. So, Xian smiled, and the curiosity in her heart was also aroused. The white tiger's martial arts spirit was very strong, and there was a reason why it was able to stabilize the royal family's status. But the fusion technique with the ZHU family's martial spirit was definitely the biggest boost. The blood demon ape is also one of the top beast martial souls. Moreover, this martial spirit also has a characteristic. Once the soul master is seriously injured and loses a large amount of blood, the soul master will fall into a short-term violent state, and the physical quality will soar by 50%. It is precisely because of this that people from the Wan family have become the opponents that soul masters least want to encounter on the battlefield. Either make him so seriously injured that he can't stand up, or make him not seriously injured. The former is too difficult, and the latter is even harder, unless you don't fight him. However, this attack type martial spirit also has a huge flaw, that is, its speed is too slow. Roar. A beast like roar rang out, and Wan Wudi slapped his chest. A fierce black light erupted from his body, directly covering him. Bang bang bang. Everyone's hearts were rising and falling with the sound of punches, and Wan Wudi's fierce black light became more and more intense, swallowing him whole in the blink of an eye. Threads of blood spread from the black light, and you could even smell the smell of blood, as if the scarlet and dark blood were mixed together, which looked particularly terrifying. Wow. Flapping its wings, Xian's figure soared slightly into the air, quietly observing the spirit possessed by Wan Wudi. The black light restrained in an instant, and 4 soul rings burst out, 2 yellow and 2 purple, the best combination of soul rings at the same time. Wan Wudi's figure also reappeared in front of everyone. He was originally 1.7 meters tall, but now he was over 2 meters tall, like a giant. The thick muscles on the arms are lumped together, as if cast from steel, and the palms and arms are even more astonishingly strong, measuring 40 centimeters in length. His eyes were as scarlet as blood, his face and arms were covered with dark hair, and the blood stains on his body were like new wounds. He didn't look like a human at all, more like a gorilla. Roar. A furious roar exploded, and the second soul ring on Wan Wudi's body lit up, and then a black ring burst out from his body and covered Xian directly. Xian's figure began to fall, and finally came to the ground. Interesting. Looking at the ring on his body, Xian's face was full of surprise, the corners of his mouth raised slightly, and a sense of joy at seeing Hunter's heart surged into his heart. He has seen resistance to the fire dance, and also seen resistance to the ice ring, Shubinger, but he has never seen such a strange skill. This black ring does no harm, and has only one function, which is gravity. It seems to be made for itself. My weight superposition can transfer the weight of my body to you. How does it feel now? With a sinister smile on his face, Wan Wudi seemed to be very proud of himself. Relying on the superposition of gravity to limit the opponent's speed, his blood demon ape martial spirit can exert its power to the greatest extent. Countless flying soul masters have fallen to his soul skills, and today, there will be one more. This was one of the reasons why Wan Wudi dared to challenge Xian. After witnessing his terrifying speed, it seems to me that your skills are not comprehensive yet. You are only about 300 kilograms. Doesn't it match your weight? Xian smiled, and his face didn't look nervous at all. Wan Wudi probably weighed 400 to 500 kilograms at the moment. Xian could feel that he probably only weighed 300 kilograms. Indeed, as Xian thought, Wan Wudi's gravity superposition was able to superimpose weight on the opponent. Although there is no limit on the number of times this soul skill can be used, there is a weight limit, and as the soul power level increases, the weight will also increase. 300 pounds is enough. There was an explosion of shouts, and Wan Wudi suddenly jumped up, raised his fists high like a heavy hammer tank, and smashed it straight towards Xian. I think it's a little less. With a chuckle, Xian suddenly fluttered his wings and soared into the sky again. Boom. Both fists collided with the soul fighting platform fiercely. A powerful wave of fists surged up, and the solid platform collapsed into a hole. So what if you can fly? With your current speed, can you win me? Swinging his fists violently, Wan Wudi blew away the smoke. Wan Wudi saw that he had not hit the target. He did not seem to be discouraged at all, and was still in high spirits. You'll know after you try it. With his eyes focused, Suzanne stopped talking nonsense to Wang Wudi and flapped him wings to hover in the air. The same moves, the same scene, exactly the same as when Suzanne had just defeated Dai Yuheng. This is not a skill with a soul bone attached to the outside, but an attack method modified by Suzanne. Based on the skill, it relies on soul power to wrap around the body, which can double his speed. Aha! In the sky, the golden light flashed away, and Suzanne's figure had disappeared. Only the sound of the fierce air friction sounded in everyone's ears. Seeing Suzanne's figure disappear, Wang Wudi didn't seem to be in any panic, and stared straight ahead. Boom. The third 1000-year soul ring lit up. Wang Wudi's right fist surged again, and a burst of black light was thrown out with one punch, and it shot diagonally into the sky. From the perspective of others, Wang Wudi seemed to be punching the air, but people with a discerning eye could see Wang Wudi's intentions and couldn't help but admire him for being able to discover the flaw in Suzanne's attacks so quickly. That's right, although Suzanne was fast, he attacked in a straight line. Such an attack method was easy to predict. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 170. Transform into a ghost and waste time. However, is Suzanne's attack really linear? If birds can catch prey in a straight line, then there are still birds in the world and they must not starve to death. The reason why the front attack was in a straight line was because Dai Yuheng was standing still waiting to be beaten, and Suzanne was too lazy to change direction. I have to say that sometimes perfect misunderstandings are born like this. The black energy ball rushed straight up. What was shocking was that nothing happened, as if it was really punching the air. Point. Boom. Seeing this scene, Wang Wudi was also stunned, and then a strong black light poured out of his body. Point. In the blink of an eye, black light filled the entire body, and the muscles all over the body were tightened into blocks, glowing like horny skin, and looked indestructible. Point. That's right, this is Wang Wudi's fourth soul skill. The Dark Demonate body can enhance defense by 200%, attack and power by 100%. Wang Wudi did not choose to attack. Instead, he hunched over and put his hands in front of himself, guarding all his vital parts. That huge human shield figure is as strong as a copper wall. If you really hit it, you will only be asking for trouble. Stab. Sparks erupted from the collision of metal, and everyone stared at it, only to see blood splashing out from Wang Wudi's arm like a fountain. Point. On the huge right arm, there was a deep claw mark that looked shocking. Blood gurgled out from the scratches of varying depths, and there was no sign of holding on. How can it be? Seeing this scene, Zulin was stunned. His eyes almost popped out of his head, and he subconsciously exclaimed. Point. The Blood Demonate's defensive power is already strong, and coupled with Wang Wudi's level 47 soul power, there are absolutely not many people at the same level who can attack his fourth soul skill head on. Even Yu Xianmin, who has the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Spirit, just relied on thunder and lightning to burn his body a little, and it was not considered an injury at all. Point. Now, someone actually cut his arm directly, and the wound looked so horrifying, it was simply unbelievable. Good. Zuin immediately clapped his hands and cheered. His old face was almost as big as a chrysanthemum smile, and then fierce cheers exploded in the crowd. Fuck. Your Highness is so fierce. Ha ha ha. They were not arrogant just now, but they wanted to provoke our college. They were really brazen. I didn't expect His Highness to be such a monster. What a blessing to my Xian Royal Academy. I would like to see how the Star Luo Empire has the face to be so arrogant here. The heartwarming laughter rang out, and the surrounding Royal Academy students suddenly felt a breath of bad breath, and the stuffy chests became much smoother. Ha ha ha. That's how it should be. Cut these bastards hard. Roar. While everyone was talking, a shrill roar of a beast on the verge of death exploded in the Royal Academy. Point. The thick smell of blood dissipated, and the unpleasant smell made cover their noses involuntarily. Point. Tick. Tick tick. Blood kept falling from Wang Wudi's right arm, hitting the ground crisply, splashing with blossoming plum blossoms. Scalded air steamed up from the soles of Wang Wudi's feet, and his soul power was vented in all directions like running water. The aura of violence and cruelty that made his hands and feet feel cold lingered on Huang Wudi's body. Violence, the ferocity of the blood demon ape. As Huang Wudi raised his head, a pair of blood-red crystal-like eyes were revealed, making everyone who looked at them tremble in their hearts. Brutal, cruel, and bloodthirsty, his eyes were so cold that there was no emotion at all, as if he were a demon slaughtering the common people. I kill you. Suddenly Huang Wudi started to run rampant, and held everyone their breath, and watched the wonderful battle quietly point boom. Before everyone could react, a huge figure was seen flying backwards in an instant. The atmosphere suddenly solidified, and everyone seemed to hear a group of crows flying over their heads. Point damn it. What about the exciting, evenly matched battles in your mind? What about the eye-popping and mind-blowing battle of soul skills? What about a heated exchange that will go down in the hospital history? Damn it, are you going to give me a kick? Change your body and give it a hammer. Didn't you hear me say that you want to go back for dinner? Xian put down his feet and snorted angrily. The red-blooded monster in the game transforms into a monster in just 1 or 2 seconds. You're better off. All I need is a BGM to make a video for you. Xian hated people who didn't value their time the most. If nothing else, he would just kick them away. Raw. After being kicked off the soul fighting stage, Huang Wudi became even more furiously. He actually rushed towards Xian. His huge palms seemed to want to tear him in half. Enough. Seeing Xuan and others staring at him blankly, Zulin frowned and formed the word Xuan, gritted his teeth, opened the corners of his mouth slightly, and let out a cold shout. In an instant, a powerful soul pressure surged directly towards Huang Wudi, suppressing him directly to the ground. Huang Wudi roared unwillingly, and as the possession of Wuhan was forcibly removed, he suddenly woke up. Lost, looking at the situation around him, Huang Wudi's pupils shrank suddenly, and he even ignored the injury on his arm. He only felt deeply unwilling in his heart. Boom boom. Huang Wudi patted the ground angrily, gritted his teeth, and stood up reluctantly. Next time, I will never lose to you. With his eyes filled with bloodshot eyes, Huang Wudi glared at Xian angrily, then dragged his bloody arm away. His team members also rushed over to support him. Xian, next time, maybe I will beat up your grandpa and give you a spanking. Don't you know the logic of a supporting character only losing once and never appearing again? Come on. Who else among you has a duel? Come up quickly. If you think you can't beat 1, 2 will do. I'm in a hurry. That's good. If it doesn't work, just 3. I can still torture you. So Xian activated the strong-mouthed king mode and ridiculed the members of the Star Luo Empire. The latter all gritted their teeth and almost rushed up to crush him to ashes. Enough. Seeing that there were still others who wanted to challenge, Xuan immediately stopped them. He had clearly seen Xian's strength. The power of the soul bone was too powerful and terrifying. Both captains were defeated, and it was useless for others to go up. What's more, that guy didn't even use his soul skills, which is what's scary. It can be said that there is absolutely no one at the same level who can be his opponent. Looking at Xuan's provocative look from the corner of his eye, Zulin gritted his teeth and said something from between his teeth. You win today's fight, huh? With a wave of his sleeves, Zulin turned around and left without stopping here. Seeing the Xingluo exchange group leaving in despair, the college suddenly burst into fierce cheers, as if they had won a battle. Thanks to Xiao Bei, sleep god, smile, for the reward. Don't ask why there are no thanks in the previous chapters. It's too difficult to come up with 2 names. Woohoo, this time there are 3. Chapter 171, The City of Entertainment. The auction begins. Sunday. The pitch black night seemed darker than ever, and the moon was missing from the sky. But at this moment, Qiandao City is busier than ever. The bustling crowd was like a tide rushing towards the entertainment city. The crowds were so dense that they could not be seen at a glance, enough to scare people with trypophobia to death. Looking at this posture, I'm afraid there are hundreds of thousands of people in front of the gate of Entertainment City. Rows of silver-armored soldiers held up shields and faced the outside world. There were almost 30,000 people surrounding the Entertainment City airtightly. Even on the nearby streets, the sergeants were standing hand in hand, guarding extremely tightly. These ordinary sergeants are of little use to soul masters. What they are guarding today are just ordinary people. Soul Masters are self-aware that we alone, or from various forces, will not cause trouble at this time, but ordinary people will not think so much. Why? Because there are so many of them. The law does not punish everyone. There are hundreds of thousands of people here. This kind of lucky mentality, that there are too many people to blame them, is likely to push them into conflict and cause Xian Dao City to become a river of blood. Right in front of the entertainment city, two big men with steel towers stood quietly, like door gods, with a fierce appearance that made people look away. The two looked quietly at the clear street beside them, which was also the only street without people. The bright red carpet was spread far away, extending beyond the corner of the street. It seemed so bright, and seemed to have been watered with blood. No matter how crowded the crowd was, no one dared to go this way. Old orangutan, how much did you charge this time? Are you willing to let you come to the door? Niu Gao joked with a smile, looking at Taitan, who was standing beside him. HMPH. You're not just standing here, so you have nothing to say. Taitan snorted angrily. That's different. I built this entertainment city, and I'm half the welcoming owner. What's wrong with me guests here? Niu Gao's face was a bit arrogant. As he spoke, he changed the subject, raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and then joked. You came here because of the gold coins, and this place is like my home. Our two levels are obviously different. Don't you have some ideas in your mind, Titan? Damn it. It's like you didn't take the money yourself. They were about to have an angry argument with Niu Gao, but when they saw the carriage slowly approaching on the red carpet, their expressions suddenly became serious. I didn't expect that sect Master Ning would be the first to come. He came early. Seeing Ning Fengzi leading the girl and saw Douluo, Taitan immediately came forward with a smile. While talking to Ning Fengzi, he also nodded to Sword Douluo as a greeting. Ning always likes to come early. I can't change my habit for many years, even if I want to. Ning Fengzi said with a smile. Looking at the two of them, Ning Fengzi's face was extremely calm. It seemed that he had known about the situation of the two titans for a long time, and had not asked about the Haoshan sect. With an honest smile on his face, Niu Gao stretched out his hand and said, Sect Master Ning, please come inside. But, Ning Fengzi nodded, and then walked towards the entertainment city. The professional waiter who had been waiting here immediately stepped forward to lead the waypoint. Watching Ning Fengzi enter, Niu Gao and Taitan continued to brag endlessly until three figures arrived. Looking at the three figures coming towards them, Niu Gao and Taitan suddenly tensed up, their faces expressionless due to nervousness, and their hearts were filled with anger but fear. The situation of the four tribes at the moment has nothing to do with them. Bibi Dan glanced at the two of them, as if she didn't recognize them at all, and walked straight over Ghost Douluo and Ju Douluo smiled contemptuously, and did not say hello. Maybe in the past, these two people could make them face up to each other, but now that they have become scattered dogs, there is no need to say more. Without the protection of Haoshan sect. In their eyes, the four major families are just big ants that can be crushed to death at any time. As Bibi Dong and the other three left, Taitan and Niu Gao couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief and finally relaxed their worries. The two looked at each other and suddenly laughed bitterly in unison, their mouths full of bitterness and bitterness. How glorious they were once, but now no one even looks at them, and even making a living becomes difficult. They really hate it. Old orangutan, if the Haoshan sect is born, will we go back? Niu Gao asked with deep hatred in his eyes. I don't know. Let's see when he comes back. Taitan shook his head, and a radiant figure suddenly flashed in his sentimental eyes. Oh, it would be great if he were here. Taitan sighed in his heart. Niu Gao also knew who Taitan was talking about. He was admiring and angry in his heart. Maybe he should have a little expectation. The two of them will never know that the person they expected to come back is already buried under the lowest. The person who buried him was at the top of the tall building guarding them behind them, and was watching everything happening downstairs in the study room on the top floor. Suzanne was sipping coffee while looking at the scene on the projector in front of him, his expression full of comfort. Sure enough, sometimes urban technology is quite useful, especially for lazy people like him, which is good news. Suddenly, a small head lay on her shoulder. The soft figure carried a charming fragrance, especially the sudden pressure on her chest. Suzanne suddenly trembled in her heart. If she bids for the auction, don't worry about me. Just do whatever you want. Turning to look at Xian Ringsu, Suzanne turned around and secretly kissed her gently when she saw her malicious smile. You being suddenly attacked by Suzanne, Xian Ringsu rubbed her face and glared at Suzanne with shame and anger. But then, she smiled sweetly, like a child, and put her arms around Suzanne's neck. Aren't you afraid that, if you turn your elbows outward like this, you will have to pay for the entire Wuhan Palace to me? Suzanne pinched Xian Ringsu's cheek with his backhand. Suzanne's face was filled with a sweet and doting smile, and she seemed to be acting like a good girl after getting an advantage. You have already plotted against me, and I have no chance to resist now. Xian Ringsu pouted her little mouth, pretending to be sullen, but her heart was extremely sweet. She didn't care about the spirit all now. What? You still want to resist? Upon hearing this, Suzanne immediately exploded and hugged Xian Ringsu directly to him. Be honest and take care of yourself, Suzanne shouted with a serious face. Upon hearing this, Xian Ringsu's face suddenly turned red with embarrassment. She was as beautiful as a rose in May, and she wanted to be taken a bite of it. You are not allowed to hit me again. Hit me there again, or I will fall out. Pink fist squeezed tightly. Xian Ringsu bit her thin lips. Her angry look had a unique flavor. Then tell me, where do you like me to hit you? Suzanne raised an eyebrow and said with a smile. You are. Xian Ringsu was immediately frightened and jumped away. Chapter 172 The craziest plan to make money. Entertainment City. Entrance to the auction. Seeing Ning Fengzi arriving, the person in charge, Zhu Bining, immediately greeted him with a smile. Sect Master Ning is still so punctual. My little lady, thank you for coming to the auction. Princess Bingning is joking. Ning Fengzi waved her hand with a smile, glanced at the instructions at the entrance, and frowned. I wonder if the princess can tell me what it means. I saw an iron sign standing in the center of the entrance to the auction. This auction is a special auction. Participants must exchange their gold coin cards for special cards and use them to bid. Special note, once the auction starts, redemption will no longer be carried out. Participants are asked to be careful with the amount of gold coins they exchange. This is just some small means taken to ensure that the auction is absolutely fair and just. Zhu Bining smiled and explained that she didn't know why Suzanne had to set this rule. It was obviously not in line with the logic of doing business in auctions. The higher the price, the better. It is better to keep bringing in money from the outside. In this way, exchanging it into an inherent card in advance will reduce the income. I see. Sect Master Ning nodded as if nothing happened, but he kept an eye out in his heart. How could he not notice the strangeness in this as he was so shrewd? No. 1. Take this guest to handle the exchange business. Zhu Bining smiled and ordered. Yes. Hearing this, a row of ladies in suits stood nearby, and the woman with the word 01 on her head and just suddenly stood up. This guest, please come inside. With a standard professional smile, the 01 woman bent down slightly, revealing her tall and graceful figure wrapped in a suit, and extended her hand to say hello. Ning Fengzi nodded to Zhu Bining, and then led by woman number 01 to a sealed room. The house seemed to be less than 20 square meters, and the front was separated by glass. There were computers, scanners, readers and other equipment inside. Paired with the modern outfit of the woman inside, it looks no different from a modern bank. That's right, it's the bank. For this auction, Suzanne specially built a local area network and super server, and moved the bank out for the upcoming digital network era. When bank cards replace gold coin cards and bank notes replace gold coins, then gold coins whack occur. All the gold coins are his. As for service personnel number 01, although they look human, they are actually robots. Of course, Suzanne did send professional technical personnel to deal with server and network matters before. Those people who came from the system to kill in seconds would only obey Suzanne's orders. They only had technical abilities in their minds and would not reveal other information. They were more similar to cyborgs. Hello, how many gold coins do you need to exchange? The clerk in front of the computer asked with a smile, still wearing a professional smile, and not seeming to be picky at all. Point looking at the 01 woman and the staff in front of the computer. Ning Fengzi always felt that something was strange, but he didn't think much about it. After all, they were just 2 servants. Let's exchange it for 150 million first. After thinking for a moment, Ning Fengzi took out 3 diamond gold coin cards from the crutch in his hand. Okay, wait a minute. After looking at the value on the diamond card, the smile on the beautiful staff member's face became even bigger, and then she took out a bank card and started operating it. Enter the person information, enter the card information, and also take photos of Ning Fengzi, etc. And then enter the IC card information. Hello, this is your bank card. Please keep it. The beautiful clerk then handed over the bank card. Looking at the card in his hand and the string of zeros and the last number 101 on it, Ning Fengzi was confused. I have 150 million gold coins to give myself such an ordinary card. Moreover, there is not even a gold coin value. Damn it. Will my money be swallowed up? May I ask, do you know how to use this thing? Sect leader Ning frowned and asked. In the study room on the top floor, Xian burst out laughing when he saw Ning Fengzi's confused face, as if he had been deceived. He was so funny. However, as the first person to try something new and experience bank cards, Ning Fengzi will definitely go down in history in the future. Sir, your amount is stored in it. When you pay for the auction, you only need to insert the card into the machine and enter the secret according to the instructions. The beautiful staff member smiled and took out the pose machine, then inserted the card. Seeing the value displayed on it, Ning Fengzi finally nodded with confidence. By the way, what's the password? Ning Fengzi asked again. The password is the last 6 numbers on the back of your card. If you need to change it, I can help you get it again. The beautiful staff member replied. No, thanks, Ning Fengzi shook his head. He might not need this card later. Besides, no one dared to steal anything from him, so there was no need to bother. Looking at the bank card and pose machine in his hand, although Ning Fengzi found it novel, he felt that it was very similar to a gold coin card. But in the future, when the big time comes, he won't feel this way. Holding the bank cards, Ning Fengzi and the two had just left the room when they met an old acquaintance. Their expressions condensed slightly, and then they relaxed again. I didn't expect that even His Majesty the Pope would come in person. It looks like this auction will be very interesting. Ning Fengzi greeted with a smile. The Kibao glazed sect is extremely wealthy. From such an auction, it seems that sect Master Ning intends to return home with a rich harvest. Bibi Dong sneered. His Majesty the Pope is joking. How can Ning have such great ambitions? His Majesty the Pope, on the other hand, must be merciful. In response to Bibi Dong's point-to-point confrontation, Ning Fengzi smiled, waved his hand, and kicked the ball back. Both of them have been foxes for thousands of years, and their level of fighting skills can be said to be inseparable. However, when they saw the person coming from behind, the two did not continue to communicate. This is the saying goes, that when masters compete with each other, it only takes a brief taste. Bibi Dong and the other 3 walked into the bank room and began to handle bank card business. Bibi Dong looked at these machines with unnoticeable excitement flashing in his eyes. Suddenly, a powerful spirit was about to burst out. Douluo and the two were startled, and then looked at Bibi Dong, wondering what she was going to do. Bibi Dong ignored the two of them, and her mental power surged towards the beautiful staff member's brain. However, to her disappointment, the beautiful staff member seemed to have no reaction at all, and continued to handle business on her own. Seeing this scene, Bibi Dong frowned immediately. At this moment, a voice suddenly rang out. His Majesty the Pope, the auction information is confidential. Doesn't it seem a little inappropriate? Bibi Dong was startled and turned around to see Suzanne's voice coming from a black box. The 3 of them were shocked. Chapter 173 High-end equipment for the auction. As if she knew that Suzanne was watching everything in the room at this moment, Bibi Dong's expression returned to calm in the blink of an eye. I'm just testing it out, so as not to be taken advantage of by someone who is interested in The study room, watching Bibi Dong talking nonsense without blushing. The corner of Suzanne's mouth twitched sharply and remained speechless. How righteous and awe-inspiring, pretending to be confused and talking nonsense. My mother-in-law is indeed someone who has experienced this. My level is still a little low, but fortunately, Xian Ringsu didn't inherit this, otherwise she would have been uncomfortable. The Pope does not need to worry about the auction. Please respect yourself. After speaking, Suzanne cut off the intercom and observed the movement in the room through the monitor. Bibi Dong smiled nonchalantly, as if nothing happened. Here are 200 million gold coins. When the beautiful staff asked about the amount of gold coins, Bibi Dong took out 2 diamond gold coin cards, each containing 100 million gold coins. The beautiful clerk looked at the amount and saw that there was no difference, and then started to handle the bank card business. Cough cough cough. In the study, Suzanne began to cough violently. He didn't know whether it was because of anger or surprise. Anyway, he was frightened. Damn it. If you ask for 200 million gold coins, you, mother-in-law, are the richest woman, isn't it just 200 million gold coins? What's all the fuss about? Seeing Suzanne's face turning red as he coughed, Xian Ringsu gently smoothed his back with a mutton fat white jade like catkins deep in the snow, and couldn't help but joke at the same time. Seeing Xian Ringsu standing and talking without pain in her back, Suzanne rolled her eyes and said, "Daughter-in-law, that's 200 million gold coins. We only have a few 100 million gold coins in the Xiandao Empire's treasury." The words were sour, as if he had eaten a lemon. Suzanne was filled with envy, and even had the urge to rob the dowry in advance. It's like defeating the mother-in-law's pope, supporting his daughter-in-law to ascend to the throne, and then he can eat soft rice with peace of mind. It's your money anyway, isn't it? Xian Ringsu reminded with a smile. The excitement and pleasure of revenge flashed in her eyes. This is not my money. Suzanne shook his head resolutely. Xian Ringsu seemed to be strangled by the throat, and stared at Suzanne without knowing why. You. Slightly bending her hands, Suzanne hugged Xian Ringsu's waist, and pressed her down on the sofa amidst her exclamations. Their eyes met. Suzanne's eyes were clear, and without any impurities. It should be our money. What's mine is yours. Sigh. You're trying to coax me with sweet words again. I won't listen to you. A blush appeared on her face, and Xian Ringsu's heart pounded. She quickly turned her head away, not daring to look directly into Suzanne's eyes. I saw her side face as white as snow, as delicate as jade and pink, just like the peach blossoms blooming in March, which captivated the country and the city. A pair of eyelashes are trembling slightly, mixed with secret joy and shyness. The phoenix eyes are as charming as silk, and the spring is budding. The gorgeous and charming face exudes charm, seducing people's hearts, and they want to welcome you, but also reject them. Although she was often bombarded by Suzanne's sweet words, Xian Ringsu never had any resistance to it, and was eaten to death by Suzanne every time. Seeing Xian Ringsu's charming and confused look, Suzanne's eyes were a little fiery, and then he lay down leisurely. Don't move. With her slender legs twisting and turning, Xian Ringsu freed up her hands and directly grabbed Suzanne's hands, expressing her resistance with a stern face. Okay, let's talk about it later. Seeing Xian Ringsu's hot body and shy look, Suzanne smiled knowingly and quietly honestly. 2 minutes later, on the bed, Suzanne's right hand was pinned behind his head, and his whole body was pressed tightly by Xian Ringsu. He was lying face down on the quilt, looking like a dead fish. Ah, you still lying to me? Holding Suzanne's arm, Xian Ringsu's face was hot and red, and she was furious. I don't dare. I don't dare. Hi, wife, please be gentle. My hand is about to break. Suzanne shook his head quickly and slapped the quilt with his right hand to express his surrender and beg for mercy. Woohoo, he just couldn't help it. This was a normal physiological reaction. Woohoo, he's so difficult. Snort. As time goes by, more and more people come to the auction. Of course, those who can come in must at least be a soul saint. All the upper 3 sects and the lower 4 sects were notified, and even some of the contra families in the province, who had no regard for worldly affairs, were all notified. Among them, Haotian sect was conveyed by Tang Yuhe, but obviously they still didn't come. perhaps knowing that Wuhan Palace would participate, even if it was 100,000-year-old beast. They chose to stay away from the edge for the time being. Maybe he is also poor and knows that he cannot auction it. Let's go. Seeing that people had almost arrived, Suzanne also stopped making trouble with Xian Ringsu point. After rubbing her aching arm, Suzanne immediately took Xian Ringsu to the VIP box number 1. The box was extremely luxuriously decorated. The floor was paved with mink fur, which was soft to the touch, and even the walls were inlaid with gems, with jade vase plants and decorative murals serving as foils on the roof in the middle of the room and in the surrounding corners. There are several black balls, which seem to contain lenses. Taking Xian Ringsu with him, Suzanne lay down on the soft sofa. Leaning against the back of the sofa, I looked up and saw rows of figures, and under the seats was an oval tablet top at the deepest point. There was nothing on it. It was clean and spotless. Boom. Suddenly, bright lights shot down from the dome, and the originally dim auction platform suddenly became radiant. Bang bang bang. As the lights turned on, bursts of explosions suddenly sounded in the entertainment city, which shocked everyone in the auction house. Everyone, please don't panic. This is just fireworks being set off outside. Please enjoy them together. A considerate and gentle voice sounded, and then all the lights on the scene were extinguished, and the commotion in the audience suddenly stopped. In the darkness, the rear projector suddenly lit up, projecting the scene outside the auction house. I saw bright fireworks exploding in the dark night. Colorful and beautiful. Suddenly, the scattered sparks suddenly formed 8 big characters in the sky, unique and shocking. As soon as this word came out, many beautiful people who were immersed in the fireworks came back to their senses. Unique and shocking. Haha. Fengzi laughed and did not express his own opinion, but he was very interested in the fact that this could project the scene outside. If this thing was here and could monitor every move in the 7 Treasures Pagoda, the 7 Treasures glazed sect would not suffer so much loss. 50 million gold coins and 9th grade Gynoderma lucidum grass. When Ning Fengzi thought of this, he gritted his teeth with hatred. As you can see, these 8 words sum up this entertainment city. Maybe you don't believe it now, but time will prove everything. Wow. The lights suddenly turned on, and thousands of brilliance condensed on Zhu Bingning. Dressed in a white dress, with icy muscles and jade bones. She looks like a fairy. Chapter 174. An epoch-making product, an air battleship. This kid spoke so decisively from the beginning, and he was not afraid of damaging the majesty of the royal family. Looking at those 8 big characters, Emperor Zhu felt a little annoyed and snorted angrily. As an emperor, he has never been tough in front of these people. Together with you, I have been pretending to be awesome all my life, and tonight I finished pretending all at once. Mom, pullable, not a son of man. I'm right. Have you ever seen any of these things? Why aren't they unique? Nang Gongling immediately refused and rolled her eyes at Zhu Yi, who immediately felt sad and did not dare to refute. As for the things Nang Gongling said, they were naturally projectors, computers, and bank cards. Even in the royal family, she had never seen it before, and there was no trace of soul power fluctuations in it, and she didn't know how it was made. Looking back to the ring, as Zhu Bingning's figure appeared, everyone's eyes were on her. I believe everyone knows what this auction means, and everyone who can come here is also an understanding person. Let's get straight to the point. Giving a slight salute to everyone, Zhu Bingning was no longer a princess at this moment, but just an auctioneer. There was no excessive introduction. Those who received the invitation letter to the auction were either rich or noble. No one knew the auction better than them, and Zhu Bingning did not want to whet their appetite. Now, please bring out today's first auction item. Qinghe's voice came down with a hint of coldness, and the lights originally focused on Zhu Bingling suddenly dispersed, and the entire auction house also became brighter. Everyone immediately held their breath and stared at the stage. No matter how good-hearted they were, they couldn't help but become a little anxious at this moment. Few iron poles were erected in all directions of the auction platform. The ball on the high platform slowly rotated, and suddenly cyan light converged on the high platform. Under the interplay of light, what looked like a ship suddenly appeared in front of everyone on the originally empty high platform. It seemed to look like a ship. Although the scene of intertwined light is breathtaking, It is not a real thing after all, and many people frowned. I said, can't you let the old man see the real thing? A sound of gnashing teeth rang out from the ordinary seats, immediately attracting everyone's attention. Everyone couldn't help but smile when they saw the old man point. They thought someone was deliberately stirring up trouble, but they didn't expect it to be this old guy. The person who spoke was a short and fat old man with a wide waist, charming ears, and small eyes. Although he seemed to have a sinister look, those small eyes were full of enthusiasm and excitement. The so-called expert will know if there is anything as soon as he takes action. The first time the old man saw the battleship and the smooth wing-like cabin, he knew that this thing could fly. Not only can it fly, but it also has powerful attack power. This is the intuition from a master craftsman. He wanted to know how such a huge flying thing worked. There are very few flying objects in the mainland, let alone such a huge thing. If he can get the principle, he might be able to. Thinking of this, a crazy and almost crazy passion and impulse surged into the old man's limbs and bones in an instant, even making him want to rush out and snatch them. The old man is none other than one of the great craftsmen of the mainland, Lurk. Although craftsmen are not as rich as soul masters, the leader of the craftsmen must be richer than most soul masters, so the invitation was naturally given to him. It turns out to be Senior Lurk. Xue Qinghe gave a slight salute to show respect, but Lurk didn't care about this, so Xue Qinghe quickly explained, in order to ensure that the specific information of the auction items is not exposed, the auction will use projection. Saying that, Xue Qinghe couldn't help but laugh. After all, if you, like Senior Lurk, take out the real thing and imitate it, wouldn't that be a loss to the auction winner? Our auction house can't afford it. This responsibility. As soon as these words came out, Lurk was flattered, and he quickly waved his hands to express his denial, but he felt very comfortable in his heart. Are you kidding? How could I possibly have this ability? Too much praise. Too much praise. As expected, my cousin is the perfect choice to host the auction. Suzanne couldn't help but admire such a high-ek answer. Xian Rinxu also nodded, with admiration and respect flashing in her eyes. An ordinary woman who is not a soul master can talk and laugh among these big shots with ease, and control the Xian Dao City soul fighting arena. This kind of character, skill, and ability are very worthy of her learning, Princess Qinghe. You'd better introduce this thing quickly. Knowing that as a trustee, it was time for him to play his role. Titan in the ordinary seat suddenly spoke, wanting to change the topic back to the auction items, but Xue Qinghe modestly gratefully and immediately began to introduce. You see this thing? Its name is an air battleship. As the name suggests, it is a thing used for sky combat. In addition to its own energy source, this warship can also store absorbed sunlight and convert it into energy for attack and defense. As he spoke, the appearance of the battleship also began to change. A round defensive cover at it. 3 square thick tubes protruded from the inside of the battleship, and artillery appeared around it. What you are seeing now is the battleship's defense system. With sufficient energy, its defense cover can resist most contra attacks. Under full defense, it can even withstand several attacks from titled Douluo. As for its attack power, it is enough to defeat a contra. To put it bluntly, his appearance is definitely an epoch-making product. Even ordinary people driving it can fight contra. Xue Qinghe introduced for a while and finally stopped, leaving the rest of the time to them to relax. Boom. Everyone felt a shock in their minds, and the loud sound of Hong Zhang Douluo exploded in their minds like a thunderbolt from the Blue Point battleship for air combat. Defense and attack are comparable to contra. This is a real steel behemoth, especially when they thought that the appearance of these things might subvert the structure of the Soul Master world. Even everyone shuddered. Even Bibi Dong changed her face upon hearing this, clenched her fists tightly, and suddenly felt a sense of urgency in her heart. Compared to the worries of most people, Ning Fengzi, Lagao and others were overjoyed. This thing was simply good news to them. On the auction stage, seeing everyone's stunned look, Xue Qinghe couldn't help but laugh. Thinking about how she was so surprised when she saw this battleship, she even had the urge to get on it and drive it. Chapter 175 Battleship Auction, VIP Room. This air battleship is a product from the Dragon Ball world. except that it cannot carry out interstellar navigation. Its other functions are very complete, especially the energy cannon, which is extremely powerful. Suzanne made it the first auction item to announce one thing to them, that is, the world will undergo tremendous changes. Ordinary people can also defeat soul masters with weapons. Even though this change may take a long time, today's moment heralds its beginning. At the level of a building, it is simply not enough to manufacture modern high-tech products, because it involves chips, program codes, etc., and even artificial intelligence. What Suzanne has to do is to change this era first, and then let them accept it, and the latter has no right to choose. Don't accept it, okay? Then wait for the fate of falling behind and getting beaten. Let's see if your descendants poke your spine. VIP room number 3. Seeing Suzanne bringing these things out for auction, Emperor Xue Yi's eyes turned red, and he had the urge to chop him with a knife. No need to guess, these things must have been brought over by the traitor from later generations. I'm going to choke my mother. Zippy, can such a powerful thing be bought? Treason. What a traitor. It should be kept directly by me. Your Majesty, I think everyone is staring at this thing. Otherwise, let your son talk to his master about selling it to us. Nangangling pushed Xue Yi's arm and reminded. Talk nonsense. As soon as these words came out, Emperor Xue Yi immediately cursed and looked filled with indignation. Others thought this thing came from the Supreme Senior, but he still didn't know where it came from. This is what the little bastard brought out by himself. If it's useful, then the little bastard can take it to auction to piss me off. I'll do it. Just as Emperor Xue Yi was furious, a cold current, like a cold current blowing from a 1,000-year glacier, surged over his back in an instant. Emperor Xue Yi's heart trembled, and his hair stood on his head. He turned to look at Nangangling's dark face, and swallowed subconsciously. Linger, listen to me. Hiss. It hurts. It hurts. Emperor. Xue Yi stood up with his ears pulled by Nangangling. The former scratched his ears and cheeks in pain and cried repeatedly. Nangangling's face was filled with a cold smile. Okay, Xue Yi, you have become more capable recently, right? You dare to yell at me. Hey, Linger, I was wrong. I was so wrong. Emperor. Xue Yi quickly apologized and begged for mercy. He looked so miserable and strict with his wife that it was impossible to imagine that he was actually the emperor of the Xian Empire. Compared to the excitement in VIP room number 3, the entire auction fell into silence, and no one could recover from the surprise of the aerial battleship. Tay and Niu Gao, who are Tuo, are also in a daze at this moment, completely abandoning the basic qualities of being a Tuo. Ahem. The starting price for the air battleship is 1 million gold coins. Each increase in price shall not be less than 100,000 gold coins. The bidding begins. Boom. The sound of cold shouts suddenly spread in the auction house. Xu Bingning did not give everyone a chance to remain stunned. After all, there were still many things behind. I offer 3 million gold coins. As soon as the words came out, everyone suddenly woke up. Before they could think about the price, an excited voice suddenly rang out. Aha! Everyone's eyes immediately looked over, and when they saw the old Lao Gao, many people gritted their teeth with hatred and almost cursed in their hearts. MMP, raise the price twice as soon as you open the door. Even if you have money, you can't make such nonsense. Lao Gao didn't care about this. His eyes were fixed on the air battleship, as if his whole body, mind and soul were given to this era-changing product. His eyes were obsessed and crazy. The status of the Craftsman Association is too low. If he can study a thing or two from air battleships, it will change the status of the entire association and even make them comparable to Soul Masters. He couldn't let this thing out, no matter what he said. 400. Just as the voice from the building fell, numbers suddenly lit up above VIP room number 5, and the red projected numbers on the soul fighting platform also changed immediately. Okay, the bid for VIP room number 5 is now 4 million. Is there anyone who wants to continue bidding? Xue Bingning's voice was filled with urgency. To be honest, the 4 million didn't even reach the base price of this battleship. 1 million was just the starting price. First of all, this battleship can fly, so go fast. Secondly, the power of the battleship is comparable to that of any contract. Even a strong contract cost more than this. Finally, there is huge research value in this. Combining the three, it is not an exaggeration to say that it is priceless. If there must be a price, it will definitely not be less than 10 million. VIP. Room number 5 must be from the Star Luo Empire. Seeing the bid for private room number 5, Suzanne raised her eyebrows slightly and then took out her mobile phone to check the status of the VIP room. Sure enough, as he remembered, he was indeed from the Star Luo Empire, and he was also that bad old man Zulin. Seeing someone participating in the VIP room, Lageo's face suddenly darkened. He gritted his teeth and roared again. 6 million. VIP rooms are either for titled Douluo, major forces and royal families, or wealthy nobles. Moreover, their number of gold coins needs to be more than 10 million. Lao Gao only had 7 million with him, and he was helpless, even if the VIP room was involved. In the ordinary seats, those who originally wanted to raise the price all stopped after seeing this scene, leaving only the stubborn old man to make the final struggle. 7 million. The bright red numbers pulsed again, and VIP room number 5 increased the price again, directly stepping on Lao Gao's heart. Lao Gao's eyes widened suddenly, and he clutched his heart tightly. His already short and fat figure seemed to have suffered a blow at this moment, and he collapsed in despair. Lao Gao clenched his fists tightly, his eyes were bloodshot, and his teeth were red and bloodshot. As a master craftsman, this is the first time that he feels that money is so precious. I hate it. Watching the flying battleship getting further and further away from him, Lao Gao roared unwillingly in his heart, as if a dream was shattered in the blink of an eye. How could he accept it? Fengzi, don't we take action on this thing? In the VIP room number 4, Sword Douluo couldn't help but said as he saw that Ning Fengzi was still as stable as a mountain. For their 7 treasure glazed tile sect, this battleship was something that could enhance their strength. Sword Douluo did not believe that Ning Fengzi would not be tempted. Wait a moment, there's no rush, Ning Fengzi shook his head with a confident smile on his face. Although he is indeed very keen on this battleship, the current price has not even reached the lowest price in his heart. I'm afraid that many people in the VIP room are waiting and watching, and there is no need for them to participate for the time being. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.